This is the City of Reno Planning Commission meeting dated March 18th, 2026. The time is 6 p.m. We will begin with the Pledge of Allegiance. Mr. Foster, lead us off.
To the flag of the United States of America, to the republic for which it stands, one nation.
Mr. Clerk, roll call, please.
Chair Jacquemin,
Here.
Williams,
Here.
Becerra,
Here.
Delviar, absent at this time, Gonfiantini,
Here.
Romeyer,
Here.
Velto. Mr. Chair, you have a quorum of the Reno City Planning Commission.
Thank you, Mr. Clerk, and right back to you, A3 public comment.
It should be noted for those in the audience that comments are to be addressed to the Planning Commission as a whole. Comments heard under this item will be limited to 3 minutes per person and may pertain to matters both on and off the Planning Commission agenda. Please note that the Planning Commission may not take action upon any matter not agendized for possible action on today's agenda. When you're called on for public comment, please state your name for the record and begin speaking. The timer will begin when you say your name, and you will be afforded 3 minutes. If you are an attendee in the Zoom meeting and would like to make public comment at this time, please raise your hand. Lastly, while in this room, please be respectful. Warnings will be issued by the presiding officer if there's disruptive behavior, and you will be asked to leave chambers if the behavior continues. Mr. Chair, I don't have any requests to speak forms for opening public comment. Voicemails or correspondence were received for the meeting, and they've been forwarded to the Planning Commission for review. Just confirming we don't have anyone in the room.
Do we have
No
any
one on
requests to
Zoom.
speak at this time in chambers? You will have opportunities as the items go through as well. Seeing none, we will move forward to A4, approval of the agenda. Can I get a motion to approve tonight's agenda?
Commissioner Williams, second.
First and a second, all in favor say aye.
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 Any opposed? Agenda is approved unanimously. We will now go to staff announcements. Item B.
Thank you, Mr. Chair. A few announcements this evening. As some of you may know, this board also serves as the Capital Improvements Advisory Committee. We will convene that board at our second meeting in April, which is April 15th at 5 o'clock to discuss the regional road impact fees and police impact fees. If you are unable to make that adjusted timeline, please let Callie know so we can confirm that we'll have a quorum. Last week at City Council, they approved the Whispering Road zoning map amendment that will go to second reading at their meeting next week on March 25th. Also on March 25th, which may be of interest to some of you, staff will make a presentation on data centers and take direction regarding initiation of an amendment to Title 18 to review and modify requirements for data center uses, and also take direction on regulations related to live entertainment.
Commissioner Rohrmeyer, you had a comment?
Yes, I just wanted to point out that March 25th is also a joint interim growth and infrastructure and interim natural resources committee legislative workshop on data centers. Certainly have let city council members know this, that would be a inconvenient time since so many members of the public cannot be in both Carthage City and Reno at the same time.
Thank you. Any other staff announcements?
Nothing further.
Okay, we will move forward to our public hearings. We will start with item C1. This is a staff report for possible action, case number LDC 26-00051, Highland Tentative Map Time Extension. We'll begin with a presentation from staff. Ms. McAdam.
Good evening, Commissioners. Grace McAdam, Senior Management Analyst for the record. I'll wait for my presentation to come up. I'm here to present the Highland Tentative Map Time Extension. So this body's seen a few of these come forward. This is a request for a time extension to an already approved tentative map, which case number was LDC 26-00003. This tentative map is located north of Sky Vista, kind of by just around that Walmart that's up there. It includes about 219 single-family lots, 288 multifamily lots, and about just under 4 acres of a commercial area. So this map is set to expire in November. Approval of this request will grant them a 2-year time extension. That's the presentation. Recommended motion is on your screen. Approval of this request, like I said, will grant them a 2-year time extension. There's been no changes in code or state law that would kind of impact the decision of this request, so staff's recommending approval. And there's the motion, and I'm available for questions.
Thank you, Ms. McAdam. And now I understand we'll have a presentation virtually from the applicant representative. Is that correct? Okay.
That's correct. We're moving Mr. Kropotkin over right now. One second, Mr. Kropotkin, while we pull up your
Always
presentation.
that little pause when you're brought in as a panelist. Can you all hear me okay?
Yes, we can.
Thank
Please
you
proceed.
very much. Thank you, Mr. Chair.
John, if you can
Commissioner
please
John.
let us know when you're ready to advance the slides.
Yeah,
We'll move them
basically
for
it's
you.
just 2 slides similar to the one that, if you could go ahead and put that up. You can see the vicinity map there, gives you some context relative to basically the busiest part of Lemon Drive, Lemon Valley, in that fairly intense area. And then the area in orange, of course, is the site as described by Grace. Next slide, please. And so gives again a little bit different perspective. You can see the topo and some of the shadowing in the background. I just got cut off. Can you hear me okay?
Yes, we can hear you.
Okay, right. Yeah, there's something about a decoder. I never trust how technology is really working until I get affirmation. So, we worked for a year on this, going back 4 years ago. The timing was impeccable relative to the increase in interest rates, and you guys hear a lot about single-family lots now and making deals work. And this thing has simply been, it's a really, I think, a wonderful project. Small lots, good use of the land. You got that multifamily component, 3 different single-family products, but it simply doesn't work economically now with the sum of interest rates. I put this in the narrative if you guys had a chance, but when we walked out of the chambers 3 years ago, interest rates were 3.5%, and a matter of a few months later, they were 7%. And so that kind of tells the story for entry-level housing, of which this is trying to hit in the marketplace. So I could get into all the inflation stuff and all that and about how tough it is, but the applicants and we would really appreciate the granting of the 2-year extension. Hopefully, the market is such in that time period where we can make a go of this. That's all I got, and I'd be happy to take on any questions you might have. Thank you, commissioners.
Thank you. We will now move to disclosures from the commission, starting with Commissioner Velto.
Commissioner Velto, no disclosures, other than I believe I was on the commission when this was first approved.
Commissioner Gonfiantini read and reviewed the materials.
Commissioner Jockman, on this matter, I sought guidance from legal counsel. I am currently working on a project in Washoe County where my employer is under contract with a consortium of property owners. While I and my employer have no contract or agreement with Mr. Kropotkin, he frequently consults on project decisions which involve me. Here, I do not have a commitment in a private capacity to the interests of the applicant or the representatives and can be fair and impartial in my deliberation regarding this item.
Commissioner Williams, I've read and reviewed material.
Commissioner Romer.
Commissioner Becerra, read and reviewed material, and I am familiar with the site.
And Commissioner Rohrmeyer, could you please repeat that? You cut out for a second.
Yes, same disclosures.
Thank you. That concludes disclosures. We will now head to questions from the commission. And Commissioner Becerra.
Great, thank you. Hey, John, good to have you in the interwebs here. Just a
Thank you,
couple,
Commissioner.
just a couple quick ones. Since
Please.
since the November 22, has there been any significant changes to the transportation network in the North Valleys that you're aware of, like along Lemon Drive, Sky Vista Parkway, 395, that were not anticipated in the original traffic impact analysis that that might give us pause or give us reason to reconsider that, or is everything pretty much the same?
That's a good question, and I believe that divergent diamond interchange at Lemon did happen since the project approval. It certainly doesn't change the market and the economics, but it helps with, the overall operation of roadway network in that area.
Okay, okay. And I know this is pretty standard, and we
Yeah.
tend to offer an extension. I think, Mike, correct me if I'm wrong, like, applicants kind of get a kind of graceful extension, if you will, not required, but we can extend it once, but not more than once. Is that correct?
That is correct. So under NRS allows for a 2-year time extension. There's no findings in this case, so it's essentially a procedural matter.
Okay. All right. That sounds good. All right. Thanks, John. That's all I have.
Thank
Thanks,
you.
Mike.
Commissioner Velto, did you want to, you've got nothing, okay. If there are no further questions, we will go to deliberation and entertain a motion, should one be made, for the time extension.
Commissioner Velto, I think we should grant the time extension. In my experience, there's been no test that's really been articulated by this body, and there's no test in statute. There's no test in statute as to when an extension should be granted. In the past, what we have done is if there's any reason that seems to be articulated by the applicant that seems reasonable, we've granted the extension request. So I think we should, I can support granting the extension of time to record the final map.
Thank you, and I believe, was that a motion in there, or was that just a,
Happy to make a motion.
okay. Please proceed. Go ahead.
In the matter of case number LDC 26-0051, based upon compliance with NRS 278.360, I move to approve a 2-year time extension for the Highland tentative map and conditional use permit, subject to the original conditions of approval.
Becerra, second.
We have a motion and a second. All in favor, say aye.
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 Any opposed? Hearing none, motion carries unanimously. That concludes item C1.
Thank you, commissioners. Have a good hearing.
This is Commissioner Becerra. Just a quick side note here, more of a, maybe to assist Commissioner Velto for a moment. I think your name tag is just swapped, and just so people don't call you, we might want to fix that for a moment.
I was trying to be undercover. Thank you, Commissioner Becerra.
You're very welcome.
Thanks so much.
We'll pause for a minute. Item C2, this is a staff report for possible action, LDC 26-00052. Mendoza side setback deviation. For this, we will begin with a presentation from staff. Ms. McAdam.
Good evening again, Commissioners. Grace McAdam, Senior Management Analyst for the record. And now I will switch gears and discuss the Mendoza side setbacks deviation, case number LDC 26-00052. So the subject site is located in Ward 4 on Scottsdale Road. That's north of North McCarran and southeast of Clear Acre. The applicant is requesting a major deviation to reduce the required side yard setback from 5 feet to 2.9 feet. The master plan for this site and the surrounding properties is single-family neighborhood. There's multiple policies in the master plan that support this request, but mostly I wanted to touch on policies that kind of talk about disturbance of hillsides and grading, and I'll talk about this a little bit more further on in the presentation. But by allowing them to deviate from side setbacks and place the addition where they're planning, it kind of preserves and keeps the rear of the lot, which is the major kind of hillside, free from disturbance and preserves that hillside. The zoning for this site and the surrounding properties is single-family, 8 units per acre. So to reiterate, the applicant is requesting a major deviation to reduce the side setback from 5 feet to 2.9 feet to help facilitate a remodel. This remodel will occur kind of at the northern side of their house. The key issue staff analyzed with this request was compatibility with surrounding uses. The proposed addition will fit into, I'll show you some pictures of the site later on, but it fits into existing parking area while also maintaining more than sufficient parking on site. And then, like I said, the hillside in the back of the yard will remain undisturbed. You can kind of see the contours there at the back of the site, just showing that that's where the significant hillside starts. So it helps kind of limit those construction impacts that we might otherwise see. Also, hours of construction will be limited. The window openings on the north side of the site, which are abutting the neighbor, will be limited to help protect privacy. So here's some of those pictures of where the addition will be placed. You can see it's kind of a little carport that exists. And they also, like I said, have sufficient parking for the current house and the addition already on site. So staff was able to make all of the required findings for a major deviation. The recommended motion is on your screen, and I am available for questions. And I don't know if the applicant is here, but if you have questions, please let me know.
Would the applicant like to make a presentation at this time or just be available for questions? Hearing none, that concludes our presentation. We will now move to disclosures from the commission. Commissioner Velto.
Commissioner Velto, no disclosures.
Commissioner Gonfantini read and reviewed materials.
Chalkaman, no disclosures.
Commissioner Williams, read and reviewed material.
Sarah, read and reviewed material, and I am familiar with the site.
Commissioner Rohrmeyer, any disclosures? Hearing none, we will move to public comment on this item. Mr. Clerk.
Thank you, Mr. Chair. We do have someone registered to speak on this item. Min, if you'd like to speak, please approach the podium, state your name for the record, and you'll have 3 minutes.
Hi. It's more so just a question.
Please state your name for the record.
Min Zwan. Yeah, I'm actually speaking on behalf of my mother, who's the owner of the property right next to the one being proposed. And I'm just curious if like this would stop us from being able to do something similar like in the future. Yeah.
So we do not answer questions posed by the public, but we may entertain asking that question of the applicant.
Yeah, I was hoping they would be here or something. Yeah,
Thank you.
sorry.
No problem. Do we have any other items under public comment for this hearing?
Thank you, Mr. Chair. I don't have anyone else registered to speak in person. Is there anyone on Zoom who'd like to give public comment? If you'd like to give public comment by Zoom, please use the raise hand button. I don't believe we have anyone else registered for this item, Mr. Chair.
Do we have any other requests to speak in chambers at this time? Seeing none, that will close public comment on this item. We will now move to questions from the commission. Commissioner Velto.
And I have one after.
Hi, Grace. Mr. Min just asked whether us acting on this item would preclude his family from doing the same. Is there a response you have?
Yeah, thank you for the question. It would not preclude you guys from being able to make the same request. Obviously, we review all requests on their own merits, so we'd have to look at your particular development that you wanted to build, and we could help you through that process.
Thank you.
Hi, Grace.
Commissioner Williams.
Thanks, Commissioner Williams. Hi, Grace. That brings up an interesting question. When I was looking at all three of these today, we have some that are really testing this 50% boundary or reduction size. Like, can you tell us, or at least me, when would the city step in and say that 2.5 feet is not appropriate? I'm just trying to gauge, like, we're getting really close to, if that's a neighbor and he also wants to go 2.5 feet, you know, I see a lot of these are sold as, you know, well, the other neighbor's 7 feet away, so this 2.5 feet doesn't make it, or the 2.9 feet. So I'm just trying to get your thoughts on how should I take that as a commissioner, and when would you guys step in and say, you know, 50% is not appropriate, or 52% is, 48% is not appropriate?
It's
Is that fair?
It's a
Okay.
great question. We get a lot of major deviations. It's probably one of the most common applications this body sees. And a lot of it has to do with what we're able to look at these on a case-by-case basis. So we're able to look at our fire code regulations, our building separation standards. So we're able to get different departments involved and say, okay, well, maybe we're not going to have window openings on this side or lighting on this side. And so aside from building in that flexibility in code, it allows us to have each request and look at them, like I said, on their own merits. Apart from maybe just making the side yard setback 2.5 feet, since we're seeing so many of those, we're allowed to add conditions to make it compatible with the area and the neighbors.
Okay.
I'm not sure if that helps.
Yeah, it does. Thanks, Grace.
Commissioner Becerra.
Great, thank you. Hey, Grace. Kind of build upon that line of questioning. One of the opposition comments that we received identifies as an architect and specifically states that the parcel is large enough to accommodate the ADU 2 point and some change feet further from the property line without a deviation. Have you all evaluated whether the ADU could be redesigned to comply with that 5-foot setback, or what would be lost?
Yeah, we looked at, obviously, other places on site that they could place the ADU, which is not desired because of the slope. So we would prefer it based on, placed here, any addition placed here. We also looked at redesigning it so that they wouldn't have to do a deviation, and it's a pretty tight area. You can see from the picture in my slide that they're fitting into. And so there just wasn't an opportunity to redesign it to also kind of meet that setbacks and be able to fit into, let me pull it up.
Okay.
So
Great,
that's
thanks,
the
Grace.
area at the bottom. You can see that they're fitting this addition into. And so it would be a little awkward if they were maybe like a foot or two from that concrete wall. And so this
Okay.
addition will just kind of slide right in, it's not a manufacturer, but it'll be able to fit right into that existing space, which is why it made more sense than making it maybe a foot or two away from that concrete wall. I'm not sure if that's helpful.
No, it does help. Thanks, Grace. I do have another question here, but I'll let folks chime in as well, other folks. But a quick side note as well. I think on the webinar chat, Commissioner Romer mentions that there was no disclosures because there were some audio issues or something. So just for the record, Mike.
Commissioner Rohrmeyer, if you have any disclosures, please feel free to add to anything you intended previously.
No, I have no disclosures. I'm not sure if you can hear me.
We can hear you now. Perfect. Any other questions from the commission?
Commissioner Becerra, I'll take one more, I suppose. There was another comment that expressed concern, Grace, that this might become an Airbnb or short-term rental. And I know that was kind of a hot topic last year or the last 18 months. Since then, does the city regulate short-term rentals in SF8 zones?
Nope, we don't regulate short-term rentals at all.
Yeah, right. Okay. So if this ADU is approved, is there anything preventing the owner from operating it as a short-term rental? And would that change the intensity analysis under finding number 1?
No, there's nothing preventing them also from renting out a room in their house as a short-term rental.
Right.
And so that's just not a piece that we currently regulate.
Okay, great. Thanks, Grace.
Do we have any other questions at this time? Hearing none, we will now move to deliberations and entertain a motion should one be made.
Commissioner Williams, I'm happy to make a motion.
Please proceed.
All right. In the case of LDC 26-00052, Mendoza setback, based upon compliance with the applicable findings, I move to approve the major deviation subject to the conditions listed in the staff report.
Commissioner Gonfantini, I second.
We have a motion and a second. All in favor, say aye.
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 Any opposed? Hearing none, motion carries unanimously. That concludes item C2. Item C3, staff report for possible action. This is a recommendation to City Council, LDC 26-00003, Clear Acre Commons Master Plan and zoning map amendments.
Good evening. This is my last one for the night, I swear. Grace Macadin again, Senior Management Analyst, here to present Clear Acre Commons Master Plan Amendment and zoning map amendment. The subject site is 27.32 acres in size. It's located south of the TMCC campus between Clear Acre and 395. The applicant is requesting a master plan amendment from single-family neighborhood and public quasi-public to suburban mixed use, a zoning map amendment from single-family 3 units per acre to mixed-use suburban, and also a tier amendment from Tier 2 to Tier 1. So I wanted to first start by offering a little background. It's a little unique. The site was acquired by City of Reno from an RTC interchange project. The city entered into an agreement with the Northern Nevada Building and Construction Trades Council Development Corporation. This agreement, among other things, requires that the organization build at least 400 affordable housing units and 240 workforce units.
Ms. McAdam, I apologize. I had a commissioner request to do disclosures before this item began, and I forgot.
That's okay.
Could you please hold for a sec?
Yes.
We're going to go through disclosures, and then we'll proceed with your presentation. Commissioner Velto.
Yes, thank you. Pursuant to NRS 281A.420 of the Nevada Ethics and Government Law, I am required to disclose a potential conflict of interest before any discussion, vote, or action is taken on the Clear Acre project. My law firm represents the property owner and applicant in this matter, the Northern Nevada Building and Construction Trade Council Development Corporation. This attorney-client relationship constitutes a commitment in a private capacity to the interests of the applicant. Because the applicant has a direct pecuniary and business interest in the outcome of the Clear Acre project, now before this commission, my private professional relationship with the applicant could reasonably be viewed as affecting the independent judgment that I can make on this matter. I'm making this disclosure on the record so that the commission, the applicant, and the public are fully informed of the nature and potential effect of this relationship on any action I may take. Therefore, I will abstain from voting, discussing, and otherwise participating on this matter.
Commissioner Gonfantini, no disclosures.
Commissioner Jockman read email from the applicant.
Commissioner Williams, read and reviewed material and familiar with the area.
Commissioner Becerra, read and reviewed material, and I am familiar with the project site.
Commissioner Rohrmeyer, no disclosures.
Okay, we heard everyone that time. We will now go back to the presentation from staff. My apologies. Please proceed.
Back to background. So like I said, the city entered into an agreement with the Northern Nevada Building and Construction Trades Council Development Corporation. Among other things, this agreement required them to build at least 400 affordable units and 240 workforce units. And so this request will help them facilitate that needed density. So now we'll discuss the request. First, I wanted to discuss compatibility, which is talked about in the staff report. The site is surrounded by TMCC, residential, and the freeway. It's within a half mile of neighborhood centers, and Clear Acre is considered an arterial. So this intensification is kind of, you could see, supported by some of the intensification of the surrounding uses. So again, the applicant is requesting a master plan amendment from public quasi-public and single-family to suburban mixed use. This will, like I said, help support the needed density, and the change in master plan is supported by numerous policies in our Reimagine Reno master plan document. So we're also looking at a zone change from mixed-use suburban and SF3 to all mixed-use suburban. So you can just see that it's kind of, a lot of the site is already zoned mixed-use suburban, and then there's a sliver that's SF3. And so this only applies to 11.01 acres of the site. And because of the density differences between SF3 and MS, this zone change will help facilitate that needed density, and it'll also make it easier, just more conforming, having the site be one zoning district. So this is a comparison of development standards from SF3 to mixed-use suburban. It's a clear intensification, but kind of discussed throughout the presentation. It's needed because of this agreement. It's also supported by the surrounding area and uses. Staff was able to make all the required findings for a master plan amendment, and we were also able to make all of the findings for a zoning map amendment. The recommended motion is on your screen. I'm available for questions, and I believe the applicant has a presentation as well.
Good evening, Planning Commission. Chair, my name is Brooke Oswald. I'm with the RET Group. representing the project tonight. So this is a master plan zoning map amendment. These are high-level approvals. So what we're looking at is that suitability of the land. As this moves to progress and we look at development, that's when we'd anticipate your geotechnical report, hydrology report, traffic report, and sewer report coming in. So those would be in the future. This is, right now, is that suitability of the land for the zoning.
We're pulling it up right now.
Yep. Go ahead, I can probably talk a little bit more. So the owner of the property, the agreement that was, we are obliged to build a certain amount of needed affordable housing in the city of Reno and workforce housing. I'm just going to define those really quickly for you so you understand what those actually mean. So affordable housing means between 50 and 80 AMI, that's average medium income of a household. And your workforce housing is going to be about 80% AMI to 120% AMI. So this group of housing that is through this, facilitated through this zoning and master plan amendment are those really needed pieces of housing we need in Reno that we've talked about for years.
Mr. Oswald, if I
Yes.
may interrupt briefly, Commissioners Becerra or Rohrmeyer, could you please confirm that the online, the presentation is now showing? We appeared to have a problem with that.
I can see you all from the dais
Okay.
and the presentation before you, or behind you.
Why don't we hold for 1 minute to get that cleared up, and then we'll proceed. My apologies.
Oh, it's back up now.
Okay, let's proceed.
The location and context, Grace went over that really quickly. It is 27.3 acres. Currently, it's 6 parcels. You are seeing the TMC campus up above, a fair amount of hillside going up that way, but down on our side is suitable for development. We are the public quasi-public single-family neighborhood is what we currently are. Our master plan, our zoning is mixed-use suburban and SF3, that's single-family, 3 units per acre. And there is that economic development and purchase agreement that is there. That sets a number of terms. As Grace said, that the property was sold, and as part of that sale of that property of the city to the developer, they have to build certain things. Quickly go into the Building and Construction Trades Council in Northern Nevada. They are a nonprofit group. They do mentoring, apprenticeships, and another, and so we'd anticipate future development actually would help to support their group and their needs as development continues. Key goals on this are to create a consistent regulatory framework for the project. That's for both the city and the applicants, so we both have an understanding coming in how we're going to meet the obligations there. To deliver affordable and workforce housing with long-term affordability covenants, those have to be held for a minimum of 30 years. So that's an extensive period of time that those will remain in that. The integration of neighborhood serving amenities and infrastructure, we'll see infrastructure improvements. As showed on Grace, there's a dot there. We're anticipating a new Tumwa water tank going in there that would service the project, but also helps create that redundancy to other neighborhoods. Workforce development through the apprenticeship programs and during construction that I spoke about. And then that coordination of the city and regional policies for that mixed-use development. This, just so everyone has, that's 395 in the Clear Acre Road. Our master plan amendment, we are looking to go from the public, quasi-public to the single-family tier. So as we look at that, we would bring that all into that suburban mixed-use master plan. As you can see, we do have bits of that surrounding the area and kind of a mosaic of different zonings there. But MF30 and that MFU seem to dominate through a large portion of that. We really need to align the land use, the underlying land use, with the proposed development and the regional infrastructure. This helps us to support compact growth and infill development, and it's using that existing urban services efficiently. We're already providing police and fire and those other services in this area. Facilitate and coordinate the mixed-use residential, commercial, and civic uses. We're implementing the economic development workforce housing policies. So the city of Reno has, not outside of the master plan, they also have strategic policies that they're looking at, and I'll focus a little bit more on those. As you saw in Grace's presentation, there was a long list of master plan policies that this supported. In addition, this supports a number of strategic policies, and those are those more short-term policies that the city's really looking on. One of the main ones being of affordability of housing and homelessness. And then, so kind of running through those, this integrates, it's interesting, sort of the sustainable and equitable development principles. And then we're ensuring that long-term community benefit through that strategic site planning and adherence to the infrastructure capacity. Our zoning map amendment, we are looking to bring half the site, a little under half the site, equivalent to the MS zoning that's already applied to the site. This helps us to, with the SMU, to implement that. Those are conforming zoning under that SMU master plan. It provides that predictable regulatory framework and to go with the long-term land use goals. We preserve that flexibility for residential, commercial, and civic uses. That does allow those all uses, and that allows, as this project moves forward, for that design flexibility, which is needed on a site of 27 acres, and with some of the requirements through the agreements. Support, coordinate, and compact the walkable development. As we see, this will be sort of a community in and of itself, with the city requiring certain amenities, connectivity, parks, recreational things happening within the development, and supports that compacted growth and infill development. Although this is just out of that McCarran loop, and we're often looking at that infill in the McCarran, this is really just that step that moves through the next stage. With that city of the development, I have had, was mentioned in the staff report, and I have had meetings with the director and staff at Truckee Meadows Regional Planning Agency. This will require a tier change. As shown from the email correspondence, they were supportive of that, and my conversations also showed an understanding and a support to bring that into tier 1. So that's really bringing that into that compact growth and infill policies. And then advancing the city housing and economic development objectives. We need to meet that development agreement we made. This helps this along. This is the first step in that. And then those long-term community benefits through the public-private kind of partnership that's been established here. Just to reiterate, once again, we have the development agreement. It establishes those obligations, timeline, and responsibilities for both the city and the developer. This amendment is needed to satisfy those housing obligations, and it provides that certainty for phasing infrastructure and public improvements. So we are looking at this logically as we move forward. Public benefits are that an increased housing supply, including those affordable units, and the economic stimulus we'll see through construction and the long-term community investment. We did do a fiscal analysis on this property, and it showed a positive net revenue projected for the city through taxes, fees, and impacts. And developer-funded infrastructure reduces those city expenditures that we'd see. And then you have that long-term economic and fiscal benefits that really exceeds the cost of this project that we're getting. I'll leave with that. This is the group that was involved, and I'm available for questions as needed. Thank you.
We have done disclosures already, and we've seen the presentations. We will now move to public comment. Mr. Clerk.
Thank you, Mr. Chair. We did have one person register for public comment in chambers. We have Sue Morrison. Sue, if you'd like to speak, please approach the podium. State your name for the record, and you'll have 3 minutes.
Hi, my name is Sue Morrison. I have never spoken to you guys before, so hello. I live on Ridgecrest Drive. It's a stone's throw from Clear Acre and Scottsdale. They are proposing at least 600 more units in that incredibly, incredibly congested area. First of all, let me say that they, for some reason, there's a freeway access to 395 if you're going south on Clear Acre. For some reason, the RTC has taken away the merge lane. I don't know why, but it's now metered immediate merge. And then a couple hundred feet later is that immediate merge with the McCarran traffic. And it is a mess. The only positive thing I can see about this is if it's special housing and good housing, it's very close to the bus stops on Clear Acre. But coming out of Scottsdale, we often wait 2 full rotations of the traffic light just to get onto Clear Acre. It does a left-hand turn, and you guys are they are talking about putting more stuff on that left-hand turn that goes be west on Scottsdale. It just seems like, to me, there's too much congestion to be able to put that huge of a project there. And I might be jumping the gun because you said you were going to talk about traffic later, but the impact on traffic is going to be absolutely horrendous with the new change to the metered lanes coming off of Clear Acre onto 395. That's it.
Thank you, Mr. Chair. For the record, we did also receive correspondence for this item. These were forwarded to the Planning Commission and have been entered into the record. Is there anyone on Zoom who'd like to give public comment on this item? If you'd like to give public comment by Zoom, please raise your hand. Seeing none.
Do we have any other requests to speak in chambers at this time? Hearing none, we will close public comment and move to questions from the commission.
Mr. Chair, I guess I'll start.
Please proceed.
Let's talk about traffic. Who wants to handle that? Grace? Brooklyn?
I'll start, and then I'm sure he'll have to come save me.
Step in? Okay, thank you so much. I'm really struggling with this aspect of it, and I have been all day. Our job is to meet a series of findings at the best that, we understand and are given the information. Our general review criteria discusses, mitigates traffic impacts. And we have nothing to look at. And in this case, I often wonder if this commission has been given too much information, because I feel like if we just were handling the changes to the code and the land use, that would be a lot cleaner. But now we're also handed something with a lot of units and a decent amount of traffic. And so I'm struggling with how, in my role, am I supposed to find that criteria now that I know that there's 700 units coming in that area. So I just kind of wanted to get your thoughts on that. If you had any, maybe you could guide us a little bit how the city feels.
Definitely. It's a unique situation because, like you said, it's a higher level application, and so usually we don't see the specifics of the development at this point. We're just looking at land use compatibility and the master plan. Because city council entered in an agreement, which that decision's been done, the decision for the number of units has been made by the city council, and it put, it's a little bit of a unique situation we don't see often, where they've kind of made the decision about the unit count, and now you have to retroactively zone it and make it compatible and all of those things. Traffic will be reviewed at time of building permit if those traffic counts are hit the threshold of required by code to look at to require traffic analysis, or if a site plan review is triggered, we'll look at them at that point as well. So it will be analyzed, it will be looked at once we get to the actual development, so we can look at the full scope of the project. But this is just the higher level right now, where we're looking at the broad zoning and master plan.
Okay.
If I could just add to that, and Grace did a great job, and
She did.
she was gracious
Yeah.
enough to pinch hit for me tonight. I actually wrote the staff report, and we'll be presenting this to council.
I saw that.
This project will trigger a full traffic impact analysis regardless.
Okay.
Just based on anything that generates more than 200 average or peak hour trips is going to trigger a full analysis, which this clearly will. And that study will be coordinated not only through the city, but with RTC and NDOT. And we'll identify any improvements that need to be made, and including the Scottsdale Clear Acre intersection and any of the surrounding roadway network.
Okay. Thanks, Mike. One other thing. So thanks, Grace. You did a great job. Based on what you said, my additional thought previous to being here tonight was to make a separate condition, an additional condition that relates to making sure that this does happen before anything moves forward. Is that is what you're saying?
So
not
master
necessary?
plan amendment and zoning map amendment applications cannot be conditioned. They need to stand on their own merit. We cannot add conditions because they're not project specific. You can certainly make your comments known for the record.
Okay.
Yeah.
I think when I look back, I just want to make sure that this body acknowledged that we do have a project in front of us and that this one little section, in most cases maybe wouldn't be found. So can I make that as an additional comment to city council as part of our recommendation?
Certainly,
Okay.
like I say, you can say for the record, we can convey that to council when we present it.
Great, thank you both.
Commissioner Becerra.
Great, thank you. And I guess now that we know Mike wrote this, might be geared towards him, but whoever wants to take it, I guess I do have a few here. Let's see. In the staff report, it was indicated that the applicants had originally requested an SPD or specific plan district, and that staff found no benefit to that approach. Would you all mind just elaborating on that? Like from a planning standpoint, wouldn't an SPD have provided the tailored development standards and phasing requirements, community amenities that MS zones by right multifamily entitlement does not guarantee?
So specific plan districts are typically for projects that have unique characteristics or proposing deviations from code. Everything that was proposed or is proposed with this project is permitted under standard zoning. So we do not foresee a reason to have a special zoning district for something that could be done under current code and essentially has triggers within code for additional review through whether it be a site plan review or major site plan review for grading. As I mentioned, the traffic, there's provisions, a system of checks and balances, so to speak, already built into code to address those impacts. The fact that that could be done, we did not see why an SPD would be warranted to have a special zoning district that would essentially, for lack of a better term, regurgitate code.
Oh, okay, great. Thanks, Mike. And so maybe I'll ping pong with Brooke there, if you don't mind. Brooke, would you mind, kind of with that in mind, just so we have a good understanding, why did you or your client want to pursue an SPD? Was there something that was hoped for that would be a benefit maybe to the project and the surrounding residents or the area?
Brooke Oswald for the record. We looked at it for the ability to provide that clarity of where potentially development could go. But once again, it would be that conceptual within that range that we'd want. We'd had several discussions with staff, and through that, we came back to really feel that what we wanted to accomplish could be accomplished through the standard zoning. And then the benefit that we saw, you're not locking in an SPD, so if something came up or they weren't able to now you're locked into a certain design in the SPD and you're having to come back. With standard zoning, you have that flexibility. If something did happen or something was phased, you still have that base zoning to fall back on that allows that multiple of uses, so that land could it could move in a different way versus an SPD. You've pretty much locked in how it would move and the direction it would have to take.
Okay, great. Thanks, Brooke. And since I have you there, I had one for you that I guess I'll just ask you. Since the agreement, I believe, includes an apprenticeship training requirement during construction, would you mind describing the workforce development component in more detail and how it will be structured?
We actually have a representative from the trades here. If they would like to come forward and just describe that, it may be more helpful than me taking it. Yeah.
Yeah,
Wonderful.
I think that'd be great.
Good evening. Rob Benner. I'm the Executive Secretary Treasurer of the Northern Nevada Building Trades Council. We're the ones bringing the project forward tonight. There will be a workforce requirement or development requirement on these projects. I don't know if you're familiar, but I think a couple of years ago we were in front of you for our Carville Park Apartments project that we had to do some changes on. We do have a 20% apprenticeship requirement on that project. So like any project, any 20% of the work hours on that project have to go to apprentices. I guess I should have prefaced this with, the council, we are the umbrella group over all the construction trade unions. The Development Corp is RC3. So we are tied in with all the construction unions and all the apprenticeship programs. So we see this project, any project going forward, as an opportunity to bring in people into the construction industry and use these residential projects to help train the next generation of construction worker. Because it's really, these projects are perfect for first and second year apprentices when they start out, because, they're just getting going, they're not used to the big jobs. It's better to throw first and second year apprentices on, say, a multifamily project than it is to actually throw them on a Google or a Switch or a big job like that where, safety could be an issue. So we see, this as a training ground for next generation of construction. I don't know if that answered the question or not, but.
For me, it does, and I hope that it's been insightful for also any residents tuning in this evening and the rest of the body. Thank you.
Can I ask you one question before you leave? How many of these projects do you have going on in our area?
This is going to be the second one.
It's the
So
second, okay.
the Development Corp, we were founded back in 1979. We actually built 2 affordable housing complexes that were complete 100% Section 8 properties. Unfortunately, the Development Corp sold one in the early 2000s. We had one left over, which was Carville Park Apartments. That was, 40-year-old affordable housing Section 8 apartment building that desperate need of a rehab. We were able to partner with a developer, came in, we're almost done with that. That project's gonna be done this summer, late summer, fall. Carville Park's gonna be done. And then with that, out of that project, we were able to partner with RTC and the city of Reno to buy this property from RTC through the city for more affordable and workforce housing, so.
Great, thank you.
And, we do hope to be back in front of you with more projects. We continue, our plan is to continue with our work around affordable housing because it's something that this community needs and we feel that this is something we can do, do for the community.
Great, thank you.
Great.
Yep.
Commissioner Becerra.
Yes, and I think this will go to staff. Grace or Mike, I suppose. The CMS or the concurrency management system finding, I believe it's MPA finding number 3, requires that plans are in place to provide a public service and facilities. But since no site plans actually exist at the moment and no traffic studies being completed, but it will be triggered because I think, Mike, you mentioned that just a bit ago. On what basis is staff making this particular finding today? And is the commission being asked to accept this finding on faith that future reviews will address capacity?
So Commissioner Becerra, I would say that when we look at that, we look at the availability of infrastructure and facilities to serve the project. This is essentially an infill site where there's existing public infrastructure and services that will serve it. Clearly, if their traffic report, for example, showed that they could not mitigate their traffic impacts, they would not receive a building permit and the project could not move forward. So we would basically double check that concurrency with their building permit review.
Excellent. Thanks, Mike. And just to follow up, to switch lanes a little bit, and I think this hopefully might help satisfy Ms. Morrison's earlier public comment. But regarding finding number 2 for the MPA, that activities allowed under the proposed land use will be reasonably compatible with nearby land uses. The material provided shows SF5 single family to the east across Clear Acre Lane and SF3 vacant single family to the south, I believe. So what specific analysis did staff conduct to conclude that the unlimited density potential of SMU MS is compatible with these lower intensity designations, particularly in the absence of a site plan?
Sure. So once again, code has built-in system of checks and balances that requires buffering between uses. Clear Acre is an arterial roadway, so it creates a fairly effective separation from SF5 to the east. And then we do have more intense uses to the north. So it essentially, like I say, when this comes in for building permit review, we're going to do that analysis that the code requires us to do. So there's a system of safety checks within the code itself.
Excellent. Thanks, Mike. And I'll lob one over to Mr. Brook, unless you want to take it, but I'll just throw it out there. From reading the material, I remember our colleagues over at TMRPA recommended requesting specific comments from Tumwa regarding future water infrastructure plans, given the adjacent Tumwa-owned parcel. Were those comments obtained?
Yes, and that the Tumwa's concern was related to a boundary line adjustment that is going through and whether this zoning would affect it, and it does not. So Tumwa was satisfied and had no additional comments.
Okay, great. Thanks, Mike. I'm going to go and take a step back and let others chime in.
Commissioner Jockman, so yeah, I'll ask about traffic, and it's largely procedural, so I'll direct this question at staff. So we obviously don't have a traffic study in front of us. That is one of our findings. It's not a disagreement about the findings within the report, it's that we don't have one. So effectively, staff is taking the position that the finding is not applicable at this stage. We have to make a recommendation to City Council that finding can be made or that finding is not applicable. Can you please explain to me why that finding should not be applicable? We have seen traffic documentation with these application requests before us. As for instance, with Stonegate, the applicant documented that the traffic impact was less than the PUD that had been previously approved as a part of that.
So from staff's perspective, at this point, we do not have a project that has been formally submitted to analyze. There's a concept that has been presented by the applicant. There's no formal application for a building permit, for example, or site improvement permit has been submitted to this point. We're only looking at the zoning. So that's why we would say at this point that is not applicable, but there is a system, their code would require that analysis once they bring that in regardless. So that analysis and review has to occur regardless of whether this project or another project that is similar moves forward. If they meet those triggers, that will occur.
Okay, thank you. Commissioner Becerra.
Thank you, but I can hold off if others have questions first, though.
Please proceed.
Okay, fantastic. So the staff mentioned that the NAB meeting was canceled due to inclement weather. I think it was those snowy days a bit ago, and it's rescheduled for the 19th, which is tomorrow. Does staff have any concern about the commission acting before the NAB has had an opportunity to weigh in, given the scale of this project?
The reason that we were comfortable and coordinated this through the council member for a couple of reasons. The applicant also held their own neighborhood meeting, and I'll let them speak to that. So there was a noticed neighborhood meeting as part of this, is a requirement for the master plan amendment. Additionally, this will go to the NAB tomorrow night ahead of the city council hearing. So there will be another public hearing following the NAB meeting.
Fantastic. Okay. And then did the applicant want to speak to how their own NAB went?
Brooke Oswald for the record. Yes, last Tuesday, March 12th, we held a public neighborhood meeting that is required per NRS to process a master plan. We worked with the city to notice that as the city notices. So we did that 750 parameter. We sent out cards to each of them. We did not have any attendees at that, but we did notice that to that surrounding group, and that was there. We're looking forward to the opportunity of going tomorrow night and presenting to the council member in the NAB there. And we do feel that that gives that opportunity to still comment as we're going to council and making sure that those comments are getting addressed. So we've got the new changes and the requirement of the NAB, and some things have happened from the time we originally submitted this application to now, and we are committed to going to the NAB. We just hit that snowstorm area and we're not able to go that night, so.
Okay, great. Thanks, Brooke. And I'll just send one more your way since you're there. The report had stated, I believe, that the SMU designation was appropriate specifically because the site was within, or at least adjacent to, an innovation employment area. Like, do you, or could you elaborate on what specific employment generators are currently operating adjacent to the site? And how does this particular project, though, create a functional relationship with them rather than simply being proximate?
Sure. I think, one of the large employers that we're seeing, and not just this area, but our region, is TMCC. That is located close to the site. We always think of teachers, but you have janitorial staff. You have a number of other job opportunities that are offered through there in close proximity. So looking at bus lines and some other transit options, also the proximity to be able to drive or move through that. We see that as a real supportive to those existing industries we have there. Additionally, as towards North Valleys, and we're seeing a number of warehouse and other employment opportunities out that way. We see this as kind of centrally located to be able to 395, 80, and to move to several employment areas throughout the region.
Okay, great. So, so I guess you kind of spoke more to like this is appropriate because it's proximate to those, but not necessarily because there's a functional relationship, or is it both?
Well, I think you'd see some of, obviously, the landholder and their apprenticeship program and what's going on there, the TMCC and the educational opportunities that you're seeing there for people to advance their careers and other things. So I'm trying to, it's always hard to predict how people are going to move and what's going to happen. But we see the location is strategic in that it does center around a lot of things that help build people's careers, help move them economically to different goals or different income levels, and those are close and surrounding and nearby. And so we think this is really going to help a dual support of both those systems.
Okay, thanks, Brooke. And since you did mention TMCC, I guess I'll just throw out that I am on the advisory board for TMCC, and however this project moves forward, if you need help with those relationships, I'm happy to nurture those with you and stakeholders. Thanks for taking my questions tonight.
Thank you, Commissioner.
Do we have any other questions from the commission? Hearing none, we will now move to deliberation.
Commissioner Williams, I'll start. Turn off my mic. I think for my part, this is a fantastic project, and obviously our leaders feel the same way, which is why we're looking at this here tonight. For my part, I would just want to make sure that the record reflects that we've diligently looked into the missing traffic report and their general findings, and that we've been provided information that those will be provided and done before the project moves forward. So with all that being said, I'm happy to support this project. I think it's great, well needed. Happy to make a motion after deliberation.
Commissioner Joachim, I'll say, so I've only been on this commission for roughly 1 year, and I've seen a number of applications. I'm sort of curious as we go through deliberation from Commissioner Becerra, Commissioner Rohrmeyer, Commissioner Velto, we can't lean on for this item, but my question here is largely about procedure, because we're basically saying if we vote in favor of this, we're taking a stance that we do not view that finding to be applicable at this stage. We've had applications before us that have provided traffic documentation. As far as what the project is, this is very easy. The zoning exercise, very easy to support. We just don't have the documentation to allow us to make that finding. So in your experience, commissioners, you've been on this commission longer, should we be omitting that finding for the substantial conformance that I can see with the master plan to allow it to move forward? Curious for any thoughts, if you're willing to share them as we deliberate.
Yes.
Commissioner Becerra.
Yeah, absolutely. That's a great question, and I think one that requires nuance. We have dealt with some prickly kind of projects, that kind of put us in a place to really weigh out, some trade-offs, if you will. And I think the context that Mike provided was good for this particular concern in that, Based on what's being presented tonight, there was a reason for not having that site traffic analysis. But I actually agreed with your concerns, and that was a big one for me. But I think that what we can do here, if the majority of the body, or maybe unanimously, who knows, decided that this project was okay to move forward, we can make it a solid point to ensure that City Council heard our concerns there, and that at some point made it clear that some of these things are expected or required. And I believe Commissioner Williams, you had similar concerns as well there too. And so I'm behind all of you in putting forth those concerns to City Council and then eventually regional. But without that context that Mike provided, I would be very hesitant to move this forward without that.
I guess Commissioner Williams, for the record, I guess the only other thing I would ask maybe is there a way in the future, at least for those of us that are currently sitting on this thing, that we can not be presented a project that in this fashion? I mean, I guess there's a procedure within the city that maybe we can discuss so that this doesn't repeat itself, or is this just so one-off that we're unlikely to see it again?
Where I would caution the commission is, we can present their conceptual plan, but there's nothing that we can do tonight to condition that they actually build that plan. So we can speak in hypothetical terms, but we can't say with 100% certainty what you see is what you get, so to speak.
I was almost coming from the position of my earlier comment said we almost have too much information, that we know it maybe just being presented this as a master plan amendment and zoning change, and then leaving out the idea of what's going to be built on it, so that we're not thinking that. I just don't know how all that comes to fruition within the city.
It was, in this case, was provided just as background.
Okay.
Of previous action that has been taken, council action regarding the property. But we do have a lot of those that come forward that are just master plan amendment and zone change with no project in mind at all. So we see those from time to time as well.
Okay, fair enough. Thanks, Mike.
Commissioner Rohrmeyer.
Yes, thank you. I'd say there's, yes, I've been on the commission for almost 3 years, seen a gamut of things. There's never been a time when I've thought I had too much information about a project. Certainly welcome as much detail as possible. Yes, without the specific plan designation, we are not really allowed to see what the project will look like and how many units and how much traffic. I welcome that information. I do think there's a lot of benefits, of course, that have been presented: workforce, training for the apprenticeship, affordable and workforce housing, much needed, access to existing bus lines. I mean, from a planning perspective, there's a lot of really good here and that I can support. I am hopeful when it comes down to density. I'm very curious how that's all going to fit in this particular uniquely shaped parcel. And then with that, I have a strong suspicion that the density goals will fall short of what can be and realistically built, and therefore that will help lessen the traffic burden as well. But my deepest hope is that this, because of its location, encourages use of public transportation, encourages use of bike riding and walking, and that there's a transportation management plan very much in place to help people get up to school, and to route people in creative ways that don't involve single drivership. So I can support that. I don't find that the traffic study is applicable at this time, given that this is a master plan and zone change. But yes, it is highly applicable once a site plan review comes forward, or if that gets boosted to a CUP, or some sort of tentative map, if any ownership starts being an issue. There will be ways to look at the project again. That said, I've never been a fan of kicking it down the curb, because we hear that again, we get another bite at the apple. But I think there's a lot of real merits here. I do wish that they had the ability to go to the NAB prior to this. I really would be curious what the NAB thoughts are. And so that's where I stand. Thank you.
Commissioner Becerra.
Oh, thank you, Chair. Yeah, just wanted to share additional thoughts. I think earlier I was responding to your thoughtful question, and I do see this as a good project, and we definitely need housing and good entry level housing, especially adjacent to those schools and those neighborhoods. Do have concerns around the density, but I'm also relooking at some of this material, and there's a city NMB CTC purchase sale agreement that actually requires greater than or equal to 400 affordable and 240 workforce housing units. And I'm sure somewhere within the upcoming conversations at council level and regional level, perhaps that sale agreement can be used in a constructive way to address some of these gaps that are in place, right? The things that I think, Mike, you said, hey, we can't really require that, or we don't know what's going to be built, but hopefully before things get finished, as far as approved, we can lock some things in place for the benefit of the community and the residents. But with that, I guess, I will be in support of this project, but do share some of those concerns as some of you commissioners.
Do we have any other deliberations from the commission? I'll just say thank you, Commissioner Rohrmeyer, for outlining what the precedent has been there in the past, so that because obviously without a traffic study, it's not even concerns about the report, it's the lack of one. So if you're saying that there's precedent for this without to make that finding at the master plan amendment stage, given that staff's telling us this will definitely occur before building permit, and you will also, because now it's being speculative here, but there's a very good chance of mitigations being needed at that location to meet the city standards. So thank you for your comments. I appreciate that, and I'll follow your lead on this item. Commissioner Becerra.
If there is no further deliberation, happy to make a motion.
Please proceed.
Great. And I think, is there two here, Mike, that you want us to separate, or just one whole thing?
Just one.
Just Mike?
Just one.
Okay, good. Okay, good. So based upon compliance, all right, let me reference the code or the case number. In the matter of LDC 26-00051, Island tentative map. No. That's not, I'm sorry, I got my files are being stacked here. Give me a second here. Here we go. Sorry, guys. My files were being stacked here. All right. In the matter of DC 26-00003, Clear Acre Commons Master Plan and Zoning Map Amendments. Based upon compliance with the applicable findings, I move to adopt the Master Plan Amendment by resolution and recommend that City Council approve the Master Plan and Zoning Map Amendment, subject to Truckee Meadows Regional Planning Commission Governing Board approvals, and I can make the findings.
Commissioner Williams, I'll second.
We have a motion and a second. I will just add in discussion here. This body is obviously recommending that. We have a few differing perspectives there from Commissioner Williams and Commissioner Rohrmeyer. It may be of value to the applicant to, have a further follow-up discussion with staff before this progresses to council, because council may not view the interpretation of the findings that I'm following from Commissioner Rohrmeyer in the same way. So we have a motion and a second. All those in favor say aye.
Aye.
Aye. Any opposed? Hearing none, motion carries 5-0 with one abstention from recusal from Commissioner Velto. That concludes this item. We will wait for Commissioner Velto to rejoin us in chambers. Next item is C4. This is a staff report for possible action, case number LDC 26-00049, Aspen View Drive rear setback deviation. Mr. Foster, please proceed.
Well, I know you're disappointed to have me instead of Grace at this point in time, but I'm sorry. In any case, the Jeff Foster, Associate Planner for the record, bringing you LDC 26-49, again, the Aspen View Drive rear setback deviation. The project site is about 0.11 acres in size, located at 5142 Aspen View Drive, about 315 feet north of Skyview Drive, and this is north of Mayan and McCarran, as you can see on the screen. It's currently developed with a single-family home, and the request before you is a major deviation to reduce the required rear yard setback from 20 feet to 14 feet. As we zoom in, you can see that the single-family home is surrounded entirely by other single-family homes, and the key issue that staff analyzed is compatibility with surrounding land uses. The master plan land use is single-family neighborhood, and the zoning district is single-family 8 units per acre. Some background, the two-story single-family home was built in 1988. Last fall, the applicant added an approximately 10 by 12.5 foot second floor deck or balcony to the rear of the home without approval. And that deck and balcony, as you can see in the turquoise oval there. He has now submitted a building permit to bring this into compliance. And the second floor balcony extends into the rear yard setback by 6 feet, which is a deviation of 30%. Regarding compatibility with surrounding land uses, the surrounding parcels are developed with similar 1- and 2-story single-family homes. Photos that are provided by the applicant illustrate views into the neighboring properties as seen from the balcony and from the existing windows. Sight lines from the balcony are substantially similar to those that already existed from the home's second floor windows, which is a condition that exists independent of the balcony. And you can see these two representative samples where the view from the balcony and the view from the previous, or the windows that existed prior to the balcony, are essentially the same. Likewise, some neighbors can see into the applicant's backyard from their second-story windows. Several surrounding neighbors have provided letters of support, and those are included in the staff report. And staff is recommending condition number 5 to limit further expansion into the rear setback to preclude any future impacts on neighbors. Here are the recommended findings for a major deviation. Staff can make all recommended findings. Here's the recommended motion. The applicant is here and will be making a short presentation.
Oh, I see. Sure. Thank you. Good evening, Honorable Chair, Vice Chair, Commissioner, member of the public. Thank you for the opportunity to speak this evening. My name is Mohammed Islam. I live in 5142 Aspen View Drive. I'm a senior software engineer at IGT in Reno, Nevada. I hold an electrical engineering degree from the University of Nevada, and I have completed my MBA from the UNR 2014. I also proudly served in the United States Navy for 4 years from 91 to 94. I am here to request approval for rear setback deviation for my existing balcony, which currently is 14 feet setback, resulting in 6 feet shortfall from the required 20 feet setback. In my presentation tonight, I will outline the circumstances that lead to this condition, demonstrate how the existing balcony condition meet the intent of the development standard, and explain why my request deviation will not create any adverse impact to the neighboring properties. So I'll show some slide here. So this is my existing balcony, 10 feet to 12 feet. It required 20 feet setback. As already Jeff mentioned, distance from the rear property line from the post to the balcony is 14 feet. Deviation request is 6 feet shortfall. Rear house wall is 25 feet, thus it is compliant. So request is to legalize existing structure, no expansion proposed. Why the deviation is needed? I was unaware the permit deviation was required, complied immediately once I notified. Only the support post created the 14 feet measurement, and household is compliant. Objective is full compliance through permit, inspection, and code corrections. Modest size does not block any views or sunlight, doesn't create any new privacy condition. Second floor windows, sight lines already exist in this neighborhood. And there's a plan staff comments and compliance summary. So the NAB meeting was canceled actually on the March 10th. Planning Commission meetings for today. Public notice sign was posted before March 6th. Updated corrective plan was provided. Neighbor support letters was provided. Reno Fire Department noted no conflict with the adopted IFC, so we'll comply with all requirements. So here's the updated site plan. You can see there's a balcony, there's a 14 feet from the property line. So I need this shortfall is 6 feet, and the Reno City required is 20 feet. So here's this example for the rear view window. Actually, for every two-story house on our neighborhood, so there is a back window, so you can see the same view, same as from my balcony. So that's my rear neighbors. That's their windows there. This is my side neighbor. You can see there is a window too there. Also, there's my left side window. They have made a two-story reading room or something. They relax and go. There is a window there. They can see also us or the surrounding neighbors too. And there is a last couple of slides. There is a comparison between the picture from my balcony and from the behind my window, how I took the picture. So you can see there is not much difference. It's almost the same. So this is my left side house in 5136 Aspen View Drive. The left picture was taken from the balcony. Right-hand side picture was taken from behind the window. And it is 5146 Aspen View Drive from my right neighbors. And this is 5145 Dipstone Avenue. This is my rear neighbor. You can see the picture from the balcony and picture from behind my windows. And this is also my rear view, rear side neighbors is 5141 Dipstone Avenue. So left picture is from the balcony and right picture from behind the windows. So neighbor support summary. So for 4 adjacent neighbors contacted, verbally no objection raised. Signed letter for support included, and there's 3 neighbors. 3 neighbors signed the letter. One neighbor says they're going to come and speak, but I'm not sure if he's here or not. So those are my 4 surrounding neighbors who like 5136, 5146 Aspen View Drive, 5145, 5141 Dipstone Avenue. Good faith effort. Contacting and fully cooperating with city staff immediately upon notice. Submitted corrective plans. Will complete all required inspection. Commitment to meet all applicable zoning and the building codes. Request, please approve the 6-feet deviation to the rear setback to legalize an existing modest balcony with no adverse neighborhood impact. Thank you, Commissioners.
Thank you. We will now move to disclosures. Commissioner Velto.
Commissioner Velto, disclosure number 2. I wish to disclose potential interest related to the matter before us. I own 2 residential properties located less than 1 mile from 5142 Aspen View Drive. After careful consideration, I conclude that the independence of judgment of a reasonable person in my situation would not be materially affected by any interest in the specific matter at hand. And therefore, I will hear the matter, but I would like to disclose that for the record. No other disclosures.
Commissioner Gonfiantini, no disclosures.
Commissioner Jockman, no disclosures.
Commissioner Williams, read and reviewed material.
Sir, I read and reviewed material, and I am familiar with the area.
Commissioner Rohrmeyer, same disclosures.
We will now move to questions from the commission or entertain a motion. I'm sorry, public comment. Mr. Clerk.
Thank you, Mr. Chair. We do have people registered for public comment on this item. We will begin with Travis Skaggs. Travis, please approach the podium, state your name for the record. You will be afforded 3 minutes.
My name's Travis Skaggs. I live at 5139 Driftstone, which is kitty corner behind him, the applicant. I find his pictures and his statement that there's no concerns to be a bit misleading. It's one thing to look out of a window occasionally on the second floor and look out. It's another to be out on a deck for time, and these properties are 1/10 of an acre. We're on top of each other. They're close. They're Z-lots, they're offset. Our neighbor's wall of their house forms part of the edge of our backyards. So we're already right on top of each other. And the noise and privacy is pretty big. My house was only barely shown in those pictures, but he can see me in 3/4 of my house, which, is not a big deal. If it's a second floor window, how often are they gonna be looking out? But if they're gonna be outside on a deck, or the people after them gonna be outside on a deck, how much privacy do I have? The pictures also I found misleading in that the pictures he took, you're looking through the bars of the railing. Well, when you're standing on a deck, are you looking through the bars? No, you're another several feet higher, looking down, and you can see more of those yards. I do apologize, I'm a little nervous here. Also, I find it difficult to go with the fact that he didn't know that permits would need for something that has to be supported attached to his house. That seems, he got caught. And now he's saying that, he did it all right, but would he have? I don't want to cast it, I do not know the man, but he got caught. Also, that his statements that all of his neighbors didn't have a problem is not true. I spoke to Gary Fraud, who lives next door to him, 5142, and he sent a statement with me that I could share. But his privacy, that deck compared to the picture from the window is completely different. They are completely looking down into his yard. I guess that's all my statement.
Thank you. We're still in public comment, so we've got a...
Can I ask just one question of the gentleman? What was the last address that you gave?
I believe it's 5142 Aspen,
Don't see a
5146.
5146, thank you, sir.
Yes, I have his statement, but
Mr. Clerk, next public comment, please.
Up next, we have Donna Keats. Donna, please approach the podium, state your name for the record. You'll have 3 minutes. While Donna's approaching, if there's anyone on Zoom who'd like to give public comment, please raise your hand at this time. Go ahead, Donna.
Hi, my name is Donna Keats. For the record, this isn't really a major thing for me. I was here for some other reason, but I thought I would comment. If in fact this gentleman did not know he was required to have a permit, then I applaud him for doing everything he's doing and working with staff. But this is a bigger problem. I've been on the NAB for a long time. There's so many things that coming up lately. The volume of setback deviation requests, to me, is becoming enormous. And we're just like flipping them out right, left, like Sunday. And I think there's some considerations that aren't be taken into account. Like this gentleman just said, 14 feet out, standing on the edge of the railing in a neighborhood like that. Okay, so he's doing everything right. I want to know at what point do people get penalized for building and saying, oops, mea culpa, let me just go fill out my forms, then I get my deviations and everything's all good. I think this is wrong. It's happening so much everywhere. People are building, crossing people's property lines with parts of their garage. Oops, it's already built. Sorry, I guess we're going to get a deviation and an agreement with the neighbor and do whatever we're going to do. This is happening all over these denser parts of the city. So my issue is really more conceptual here. One thing, I think that's obnoxious. Have that massive, huge thing standing on the edge of the railing. I would have to move if that was coming up behind me. But that's neither here nor there. I mean, this gentleman is doing all the right stuff. He's working with staff. They're doing all the right stuff. But I think this process is broken. And I think it's up to the commission to take to council that something needs to be done about this, because when there are no penalties, people don't care, they don't get property surveys, they build it right on the property line, you go, oops, I'm in the setback, but dang, my garage is already there. So let me go fix it retroactively with no penalty. No fees for being stupid, no fees for, nothing. I think that's wrong, and I would like to, I guess, use this opportunity at this poor man's problem to suggest that you guys think about this pretty hard with all these deviation requests that are coming up. Think about how to handle them. Think about why we just go pass, let's do whatever we can to make it be okay. Because we want to help the citizens, right? But sometimes they just have to take the darn thing down and back it up. Maybe not this one if it's all concrete, but the wooden fence is in the wrong place. Sometimes maybe you just have to say, sorry, not going to do it. And I think there's a legal precedent that should be set about how to handle this, and maybe something in code, and maybe a fee structure for people who come to you after the fact, just 6 months later. Oops, oh my. It's true, you got caught. Maybe I'll get caught someday and I'll have a different story, because I'll be sorry I said this. Thank you for your time.
Thank you, Donna. Up next, we have Beth Dory via Zoom. Beth, you should be able to unmute. Please state your name for the record. You'll have 3 minutes.
Uh-oh. Can you hear me?
Yes, we can hear you now.
Oh, perfect. I'm also concerned about reducing required setbacks, and I may get the hook, and I'll piggyback later. Number one, safety. Reducing required setbacks may increase the time for emergency personnel to access a backyard to put out a fire. This happened to me. A next-door neighbor on Bates Avenue built an addition which encroached into their 5-foot setback. In 2020, there was a fire. And since the firemen could not access their backyard from their side, they axed our fence, and we were left with shards of fence, damaged fence. We had to deal with that at our own expense. When dealing with conflicting interests, safety should always come first. Number two, the city does not require a recent boundary survey performed by a licensed surveyor prior to building outside the building footprint. In these older neighborhoods, you can pretty much guarantee that a 70-year-old fence is not located on the true property line, and yet the city will accept a setback letter by an owner builder, an engineer, etc. The city's justification for not requiring a survey is that it will add cost to the developer. Because of this, I've started to have my property surveyed and am forced to pass this cost on to my tenants. 3, many don't consider that when setbacks are reduced, that in order to build the addition, you may have to access the adjacent owner's property. In Newlands, the city awarded a building permit to add an addition to an existing garage with a very narrow setback. The next door neighbor refused to allow the access to the neighbor to complete the project. Lastly, many older neighborhoods have existing CCNRs which are still active and run with the land. CCNRs trump city codes and have required setbacks baked in. Many homeowners don't realize that even without an HOA, CCNRs may still be enforced by a neighbor in civil court. I have homes that have active CCNRs from the 1940s, and they all have required front, side, and back setbacks. For the city not to advise homeowners who seek to reduce their setbacks not to consult their title document is irresponsible at best. Did I make it in 3 minutes?
You have 17 seconds.
Oh my gosh. Thank you.
Thank you,
Take
Beth.
care.
Mr. Chair, additional correspondence was received for this item. These were forwarded to the Planning Commission and have been entered into the record. I don't have anyone else registered to speak on this item or indicating they'd like to speak by Zoom.
Do we have any requests to speak in chambers at this time? Seeing none, we will now close public comment and go to questions from the commission. Commissioner Becerra.
Thank you, Chair. Jeff, I guess I was used to the great show for the evening, but great to have you. the report that we received this evening stated that the sightlines from the balcony were, I think, substantially similar to those from the home's existing second floor windows. But a balcony is a usable outdoor living space where people can stand, sit, linger, hang out, which I think creates a materially different privacy impact than a window someone occasionally looks through. How did staff consider this kind of qualitative distinction in evaluating finding number one regarding significant impact on nearby property?
Thank you, Commissioner Becerra. I was just waiting for my photos to show up here. So.
Oh, yeah, all good.
Okay, can you see those?
Yes, sir.
Okay. So from purely I've got two responses. From purely a standing, looking at the photo and being able to see into the neighbors' yards, and these represent two of the examples that the applicant I think showed two or three other examples from neighbors. But me, if I was the one standing on the balcony taking that photo, I could see into my neighbor's yard, and then also stepping back through the door, looking through the window, I can also see into my neighbor's yard. So while yes, someone standing at a window may not be utilizing the space for the same amount of time as opposed to being on a balcony, clearly, just the fact that you can see into the neighbor's yard in both instances was what led me to that conclusion. I would also point out, my second thing is that, and to the member of the public's concerns about the usable space, and to which you are also alluding, that he could, in theory, have built a much smaller deck balcony attached to the back of his home that would have also afforded him time outside where he could have sat on a chair and maybe had a heat lamp or something out there and been able to look into his neighbor's yard, but that would not have been required a major deviation. So point being that that you would still have the potential to look into neighbors' yards from a balcony that would not have required him to be here tonight.
So, okay, thanks, Jeff. Appreciate that. There's some nuance here. So, like, for that kind of smaller variant of a balcony, what would the specs or size be before it would require deviation, and why would staff, limit the size of it beyond that smaller version?
Yeah, so great, and I thank you, because that does definitely allows me to clarify. So the existing wall, as the applicant pointed out, is 25 feet from his property line. That means that effectively he has an additional 5 feet from his back wall that he could have built a deck onto, and it would have just been a building permit, and we never would have seen it. Staff would have looked at it as a building permit, but we never would have seen it in terms of debating whether or not, views into neighbors' yards and things like that. So obviously a significantly smaller deck or balcony, but still he could have built a 5-foot deck or balcony and not had any issues.
Okay.
Yeah.
All right, just a couple quick follow-ups, and I'll yield back. But I guess a quick one. I think the Ward 5 NAB meeting was canceled for this one too by Councilmember Reese, and so similar to the previous case tonight, did you all staff have any concern about proceeding without the NAB input?
And actually, I don't think that was this ward canceled. I think
it was March 10th, right? 12th.
It was the one that was actually canceled. Okay.
I believe from the report, anyways.
Yeah. To add to that, the staff report says March 10th, Councilmember Reese canceled the meeting.
Okay. 5. Okay. Yeah. Thank you for the clarification. So, did we have any concerns about moving forward without the NAB's input?
Correct.
No. I mean, in an ideal world, right? We would have the applicant would have been able to have gone to the NAB. But for example, I have another case where Councilmember Ebert specifically told my applicant, or the city's applicant that I'm working with, that she didn't need to see it at her ward. So, there are different situations where, a case does not go to a NAB. And, in situations like that, it's out of the hands of the applicant to, to make that presentation.
Okay, and in a way, this evening, it sounds like, from what I'm hearing and from what I'm seeing, that we do have a kind of quasi-NAB because we do have concerned residents and neighbors near and well, not too far with us tonight. So, in which I appreciate. So, thank you all for coming. It's good fodder for thought, and I'll yield back for now.
Commissioner Gonfantini.
Commissioner Gonfantini, Jeff, can you speak to this, what appears to be a rope on that bottom portion of the banister? Or it seems to be a white string, it's strung in that center pole, and then it runs along that side, and then it runs along, yes, correct. Can you speak to what that is and what it functions as?
I certainly cannot, Commissioner Gonfantini, but
And the
thankfully
applicant?
that the applicant
That would
probably
be great.
can.
Thank you. Thank you, Commissioner. Yeah, there is initially I thought because a lot of snow falls, more than 1 feet, so make sure the snow doesn't get stuck. So I leave it little blank actually, so a little higher on that. Then I put there is a metal string actually underneath to reduce the gap actually.
And the measurements for that bottom railing are code and follow safety and everything? Because it looks like a very wide space.
I think so, yeah. My structural engineer is working with the compliance so right now.
So it is a large spacing that's already there. And if you had
Yes, I believe.
applied for a permit, it would have been handled
Yes,
at that
Commissioner,
point.
yes, yes.
So in theory, a child or a small animal could fall through there and die.
Not really. So we don't have any
You have the
accident.
measurements of that?
I believe those are probably. I believe there's 8 inches.
8 inches?
Probably, most likely 6 to 8 inches high. So now it's like 4 inches when I put the string on it.
But you plan to adjust that?
Yes, I did myself. So this.
Okay, thank you.
And make sure there's not, we don't have any kids or children. We don't have any animals either in our house. So that's. And another question is my side neighbors. They're about 20 feet away from my house. So from my, from my balcony to and my rear, only the issue with the rear setback is 14 feet. So that's what I'm saying. Thank you.
Can I add something to that? Thank you, Jeff Foster, Associate Planner. Commissioner Gonfantini, the building permit process is currently underway. So not only did he have to retroactively seek the major deviation, which is by no means a guarantee, right? We never guaranteed that this would be approved, but there is a building permit that's in review now. So it may be something that if this is an issue that you may want to consider adding a condition of approval, that gets addressed during the building permit process. I would think it would be addressed just as a matter of safety, to your point. But there is an opportunity through the building permit process to rectify any issues like that.
Commissioner Giacomin, I'll ask one question. So we received a number of public comments there. One that I think, at least when I'm looking at setback deviations, I want to hear from fire. So, and we had a question about, should we enact a consideration to how we view these? Can you please, Mr. Foster, explain if and how fire is weighing in on these deviation requests?
Thank you, Commissioner Giacomin. So certainly any entitlement that comes in, fire is automatically on the review loop. So Fire Marshal Beck is currently the reviewer of these applications, and he always puts in some kind of a comment that says, it needs to comply with IFC, or, sprinklers are required, or whatever it is, right? And for both deviations that I have for you tonight, He put in the same standard comments. So they do have an opportunity to review, and if they do have issues, they certainly let us know, and we provide those comments to the applicants. In this case, there was nothing that fire had any concerns about.
Okay, thank you. I think that's great. When granting those requests, that's the personnel that I would care to hear from the most as it pertains to accessing the back. So, thank you. I believe Commissioner Becerra, you had your hand raised.
Yes, sir. Thank you. Just have a couple follow-ups just for clarity here. Because always trying to see where we can find middle ground here too, but not at the cost, of safety and all the other things that we're discussing tonight. Jeff, is there another balcony that can be used as a comparable nearby that has deviated from the norm?
Not to my knowledge, Commissioner Becerra.
Okay.
I did ask the applicant if there were any other balconies kind of in the area as a comparable. Yeah. And he was not able to identify any. I am not aware of any specific deviations that were addressed or that came forward in this area for a balcony.
Okay.
So, yeah.
Okay. And sorry, you got to start somewhere. Either the first, the fifth, or whatever. But on top of that, the staff report cites, I think, Master Plan Policy 4.3A, retention of existing housing stock, and N-FN14, fire-resistant building materials. I don't know. This seems like a stretch for a balcony deviation, but can you explain the nexus here? Is Policy 4.3A really about retaining housing stock, or is it being used as a catch-all?
So let's see here. So the language of Policy 4.3A is encourage ongoing maintenance and promote reinvestment and improvements in established neighborhoods for both owner and renter occupied units. So my thought was that the applicant was adding to the value of his home. He was adding, reinvesting in his property. So, and to be frank, Commissioner Becerra,
yes.
Sometimes we have to be a little creative when we're trying to find master plan policies to line up with it. Some of these very limited requests in terms of like a major deviation. There's not a whole lot in code that we can specifically, not in code, in the master plan that we can tie on to. So that was that one. And then I would also point out, and we can see it on maybe one of the photos here. No, you can't, but, well, you can. There, the lower right photo, you can see that the flooring of the balcony is made of some kind of tile or non-flammable surface, which is why I used that one. So.
Okay, great. No, I appreciate that. And, not everything fits into, the written word. It's kind of our job to, volley and be on one team here and try to problem solve this. So I appreciate the context. Thanks, Jeff.
Absolutely.
Chair Jockman, either you or Mr. Raley have any issues with me requesting the additional neighbor letter from, I think, Mr. Skaggs?
Sure, please make your request.
Do we need to put that into the record, or where I'm going with this is the only reason have been leaning that way was the surrounding neighborhoods or the surrounding neighbors all agreeing that this was fine. But Mr. Skaggs seems to possess, or says he possesses, a contrary letter to the one that we were provided at the address of 5146, which in our packet, we have a letter saying that he approves it. But if we have counter evidence, I'd just like to see it. Can we?
Jeff, do you know, I don't think we've received a formal letter contradicting what was.
But the gentleman who spoke earlier said he has one.
He can certainly submit that for the record. Absolutely.
Okay.
Sir,
Can we see that?
Do we want to put it on here and take a photo?
If he has it with him, yeah, sure.
Sorry, a little abnormal.
It's attached to the letter that the applicant gave to the neighbors.
Sir, can you please repeat that into the microphone?
Oh, I apologize.
It's okay.
Excuse me.
State your name for the record.
This is attached to the letter that the applicant gave to his neighbor, Gary. And he has a statement in his submission that says his neighbor didn't say anything negative, but wasn't going to sign, was going to appear here today. He had prior commitments. I mean, that's hearsay, obviously, But the reason I bring it up is because it shows that the neighbor was not fully truthful. I mean, the applicant was not fully truthful. Gary was very negative about this.
So we're stepping out of process here. We've heard the public comment.
So
I'm
this
sorry.
is now,
No,
his
it's not
letter
your
has now
fault.
been entered into the public record.
Okay, perfect. That's what I need.
Okay.
Thank you,
Thank you.
Mr. Skaggs.
Thank you.
Do we have any other questions from the commission? Commissioner Valto?
Yes, Jeff, I have a question for you. I'm looking at the major deviations findings. Finding number 3 is granting the major deviation does not constitute a special privilege inconsistent with other properties. I struggle to think of any major deviation that isn't kind of a privilege. So can you help me understand how you view that finding?
Commissioner Velto, that's a great question, and I think you're getting at something that it is an interesting thing. I think if you pay attention to all of the major deviation recommended findings slides that the staff brings to you, we pretty much all say the same thing, that other properties could propose a similar request. And so, that kind of gets to the issue that was brought up during one of the earlier items tonight, that, could they propose something, or were they being precluded from proposing something because of the deviation that was being requested? And the answer is no. So I am not aware of a situation where we have had an application that we would have said, oh, geez, this does constitute a special privilege. I'm just not aware of anything like that. So, and I haven't gone through the intellectual exercise to try and come up with something. So, yeah, we pretty much all say that same thing.
Thank you, I appreciate it.
And to follow up on that, and Jeff's right, so it's in our code, everybody has the ability to request a major deviation. If we said, for some reason a balcony is not permitted, but you can request it for a balcony, but your neighbor can't, then that would be a special privilege. That's how staff has kind of looked at those.
Understood, thank you.
Do we have any other questions from the commission? Hearing none, we will now move to deliberations.
Based on some of the questioning, I may be in the minority on this, and that's totally okay. I just want to voice my thoughts. I look at the major deviation findings, and I think that this project does not significantly impact nearby neighbors. The reason for that is twofold. Part one, you can already see into the neighbors' backyards, which means there's not a significant impact of putting up a balcony. Now, you may think, well, you're more likely to sit on a balcony than sit at your window. I am particularly persuaded by the explanation that under existing law, setback law, there is the permission of a 5-foot deck that could still be built and then allow somebody to sit out there and still look into the neighbor's yard. That's not merely a Juliet balcony you might never use. It's a little bit more than that and could be substantive and allow for the property owner to sit there on a balcony that was 5 feet in length. So I don't think there's a significant impact to this balcony. Second finding is enhancing overall design or public benefit. It's one or the other, and I do think this subjectively enhances the overall design of the property. The third one is the granting the major deviation doesn't constitute a special privilege. This was the one I was concerned about. I think Jeff and Mike did an excellent job answering this question, that other people have an ability to seek this deviation, therefore there's no special privilege. The last finding is granting the deviation does not materially detrimental to public health, safety, or welfare. I haven't heard anything saying that it affects public safety or welfare in a way that's materially detrimental. I'm a little bit concerned by the inclusion of the letter from 5146 Aspen View Drive. I will note that on that letter, there's a box at the bottom that says, please note that Gary indicated he prefers to attend the meeting in person and does not wish to sign this letter. So while the recollection by the applicant as to what was said in that meeting may be inconsistent with the statement we've seen. I don't think it was represented that there was a signed letter from the property owner at 5146 Aspen View Drive. I liked the idea that came out in public comment that there should be some sort of penalty in the future if you act first and then get caught. That is something I think the city should consider. I don't think that's our purview right now, but that's generally a very good idea. It's something that we should look at because we get a lot of these where people come in and look at it after the fact. That's my view. I can make the findings, but I respect all of your opinions. And if you can't make the findings, that makes tons of sense to me. The last thing I want to note is I just want to compliment Mr. Islam. I think your presentation was excellent. We get a lot of folks that come in by themselves, and I do think your presentation was very strong. So thank you.
Commissioner Rohrmeyer.
Yeah, this is I mean, these things do happen. I really respect the idea of a penalty because it does, kind of send the message that build first and permit later is not the approved process by the city of Reno. That said, we've seen some far more heinous examples of that, even so much by the city of Reno's landscape service contractor who did a whole development without a building permit. And I don't want to create a Hatfield and McCoy situation with some neighbors by requesting a letter out of someone who wasn't able to attend but may or may not be supportive of this project. I certainly think it would be too harsh to have this structure torn down. So I'm going to sort of grin and bear it for giving approval on this, but I'm really I'm very annoyed when I see these sorts of things happen. People do know better. This information is very readily available online. There's a counter that you can talk to planner of the day for free anytime during the day, normal work day. And so this really isn't acceptable. And to give Beth Dory some credit, when you do start deviating from setbacks, it does make fighting fires harder. It does make issues of being neighborly that much more challenging. And so these things create added tension unnecessarily. So shame on you for not going through the appropriate process. Let this be a very harsh first lesson.
We have a few hands raised here. Commissioner Williams.
Yeah, for my part, I think Commissioner Rohrmeyer and Commissioner Velto kind of thing. I wrote a statement before I got here, which kind of in line with the same thing. Basically, the effect of, I want to note my concern that approving as-built deviations without meaningful enforcement consequences can erode public confidence in our permitting process. And then I hope staff will continue to prioritize proactive code enforcement on these issues. So I think I'm definitely in line that there should be some sort of consequence for the motto of it's easier to ask for forgiveness than permission. For me, there's nothing I value more in my current residence is my perceived quiet area. And I can't say as a homeowner that I would enjoy at all somebody staring over my fence in an elevated position looking into my backyard. So I'm really struggling with this. The only reason I was coming on board was the circle of influence around this gentleman's house and for them signing off on it. But now with the revelation that maybe not everybody's on board and we have some that are even affected at catty corners, I'm kind of pulling back on that. So I understand about property rights and being able to build stuff, and I would encourage that, but this one seems a little stretched for me.
Commissioner Becerra.
Great. Thank you, Chair. Just, I guess I'll trifecta the idea, or maybe quad the idea at this point of a penalty as well. Not necessarily like for this individual as much as just in general practice. We have been a little too Wild Westy, and everyone knows we could use a little bit of revenue, and why not tap into that where it's appropriate. So I was kind of curious if we're able to condition this tonight, so a penalty could be in place for whenever the penalty guidelines are actually ironed out in the future, kind of like a forward-looking condition, if you will. Just think about it. And also, the balcony is at the rear of the property. It's not visible from any public street. So it does kind of minimize the aesthetic or the streetscape impact. So that's a good thing, I suppose. The major deviation finding number 2, though, I think is pretty weak. It requires that the deviation, quote unquote, enhance the overall design, operations, or public benefits of the project. But a private balcony on a single family home is a personal amenity with no discernible public benefit. So kind of, struggling with that one. And as I mentioned earlier too, I think that this particular size of a balcony seems to blur the line between privacy and whatnot for the residents. So I struggle with that one. To being smaller. And the NAB meeting was canceled, so no organized neighborhood input was received, and we haven't received clarity as to how the NAB input may have shaped staff's analysis or recommendations before us tonight. So I'm struggling right in the middle.
Commissioner Joachim here, so I have 2 things. First off, and Commissioner Gonfantini, you had suggested possibly a modified motion, so I'm curious to hear from you as we move through deliberations right now. Should a motion be made? The general question about code here, when we talk about penalties, at least if I were to go and build a deck, I would probably go to a contractor. I'm an engineer. That doesn't mean that I get to just go build things, right? And so in this case, I would probably seek design and construction from a contractor who may be the one that's more familiar with the code. So as an individual, I'm not necessarily going to know. In this case, I would know, but a general citizen may not know that they need to go get a permit to do said improvements to their house. A contractor would definitely know that. So I'm dealing with a few hypotheticals here. I don't necessarily want to lay blame on in this case, the applicant, because there could be more parties in play that may have made promises that are not wholly true. So I think it is of value to look to a further discussion about this and perhaps lay some of that information in with how these requests are occurring in the first place, because there could be other parties involved. I'll leave it at that. Commissioner Becerra. Your hand's down. So we do not have any other questions, or do we have any other questions or deliberations from the commission?
If I can just make one clarification, something that Commissioner Becerra has suggested. Neither staff nor this board has the authority to levy penalties or fines outside of what is already permitted in code. So.
And this is Jasmine Mehta for the record. I just want to let the Planning Commission know that there is a code enforcement and penalty process in place. What we normally see is, in a case like this, with you have somebody who has built without a permit, they would get a notice of violation, which is a warning, and then that would escalate. And those escalations come with penalties until they either remove the structure that was built without a permit, or they do what this applicant is doing, which is to come in and correct the issue and try to, make it conform to code. So I just wanted to throw that in there.
Thank you.
I think just one more further for me, Commissioner Williams, for the record. I think if this was a one-man show, which it's not, I would suggest that he's put it back to the minimum or maximum that he's allowed by right, which seems fairly consistent with just a broad look at our policies and the procedures that the city has in place. I think this is a little overreaching for me. Could you make a modified approval to just reduce it, or do you not need to because it's it's already allowed?
If you were to reduce it to where it met setbacks, a major deviation would not be required, so I think it would probably be cleaner just to
Deny it?
move to deny.
Okay.
Commissioner Bethel, just one last thought.
Please.
Sure, thank you. Yeah, it's a tough one. Yeah, I appreciate the public comment. I actually strongly agree with them. And I do think that the applicant or the owner of the home is doing their best as well. Seems like a good faith, partner or player in this and trying to solve a problem. I think whichever way this body goes this evening, forward or not, it hopefully is not a missed opportunity for the city as well to take action, right? To take this as a PSA opportunity to say like, hey, if we approve this tonight, like, hey, this was approved, but for all you out there, if you don't know, this is what you all need to be doing, just so you know, or one way or the other. Because I don't think that our decision alone tonight, one way or the other, is gonna have a rate of reach if we all work together as a city, amongst our divisions to do the proper PSAs and so forth. But I do appreciate the applicant trying to correct this. I do appreciate all the residents coming in and saying, hey, this is not okay. And I hope that this is not a repeated pattern.
Mr. Foster, would you like to say something? Were you indicating there?
If I may.
Please.
I've had a couple thoughts as the conversation has been unfolding here. First of all, regarding a penalty, that was actually the reason for my attempt at drafting a condition that would limit any future impacts by not allowing any future deviations for this property. I hope that's legal. It passed. But that was kind of my way of saying, hey, look, don't do it again. And by the way, we're not going to allow any additional deviations that would increase potential impacts. The other thing that I would point out is that with the hypothetical 5-foot balcony that would not require any kind of deviation, that balcony could be extended, along the width of the house and towards both neighboring properties, even closer to the side yard property lines than the current structure is, right? So just it's something to consider, right, as a thought exercise.
Commissioner Velto.
I'm waffling. I think finding number 2 under major deviations is a disjunctive test, not a conjunctive test. So there does not need to be a public benefit. There only needs to be an overall design benefit. And beauty's in the eye of the beholder. I think this looks prettier, so I can make finding 2. Finding number 1 is where I'm kind of stuck. We look at if it significantly impacts the nearby properties. I'm a bit concerned that we're now hearing that there are other property owners that do not support it, and I question whether we would make the same. I would reach the same conclusion that it doesn't significantly impact other property owners nearby if I talk to them, or possibly if there were a NAB meeting, things like that, especially given what we've seen tonight with this letter. So I'm a little concerned about that. So my views have possibly softened since discussion and kind of reflecting more on some of the questions that were asked.
I believe Commissioner Becerra, your hand was the next one. Please proceed.
Sure. I guess really thoughtful takes there, Commissioner Belta. Really appreciated conversation tonight on this one. Because it seems like it's just one unit or one residence, but it definitely cascades across the community. I guess I'm kind of curious, and I really earnestly want to know, like, what would shape, what would shape your potential outcome if a different way than you're deciding right now or viewing things right now, if you talk to residents tonight or beforehand. And correct me if I'm wrong, because I think what I heard was that whether you talked to or heard from residents tonight or before, it wouldn't really alter how you view finding number one. Right? And I guess my question is, why is that? Or help me understand why is that? Because maybe I'm missing something. And I do respect your take.
So would you like to answer or?
Yeah, happy to give my perspective.
Sure.
And this may be way too big a picture on a response, but
okay.
What does it mean to significantly impact nearby properties? I can look at photos and make my assessment based on what I see, or I can hear from people and have them explain it to me in a way that effectually makes me feel the way that it impacts them. I have now seen one letter from a neighbor that has a different take on a conversation that happened, and it makes me question whether hearing or seeing letters from 5 neighbors who'd written them themselves and not filled out a form would affect me in a way that would make me think there was a more significant impact. And that is at odds with, I think, my typical view of you generally get to do what you want with your property. So I'm kind of balancing those two concerns.
Okay, great.
Hoping to be persuaded.
Yeah, no, that helps. I guess for me, the thing I'm looking at it too is that, it's not just them that we heard from, it's the other folks that called in and folks that are there. And whether they wrote it or not, I guess the way I'm looking at it is like they lived there, right? It's that lived experience. And so that's what I'm balancing out here and kind of struggling with. But I'll take a step back here.
Commissioner Rohrmeyer.
Thanks. I know this has been an interesting deliberation. I would maybe ask the applicant if the board is feeling like we might get a split or it might even be leaning towards a denial, that he asks for a extension before a decision is made towards a denial, to rally the neighbors, talk to the neighbors a bit more, see if there's some mitigation, additional landscape screening, or some negotiations that can take place on the most local level, hyper-local scale, around his yard that would help mask that view, some tall trees, something, and then come back and to us and report back as opposed to go to denial.
Great suggestion, Commissioner Rohrmeyer. Personally, right now, I can't tell if this would pass or not. So if we can state some more comments on the record to get so that I can ascertain that before any motion is made, and then we'll afford the applicant that opportunity to weigh in. Commissioner Williams.
Yep. I think lastly, in response to Commissioner Velto's comments, I'm sitting here wondering too, if your neighbor, your adjacent neighbor, built something and then came to ask for your permission, would your acceptance of that be based on that it's already built versus if he would have come to you and said, hey, I want to build a deck and it's going to be over your property line, would that comment be different from after the fact? And I know I probably would be a little bit more sensitive personally if somebody had invested the money, it's my neighbor, I want to be cohesive. I don't think I would make the same decision if he came to me without building it. I think it would be a little bit more straightforward no from me with the privacy concerns. So I do like all the conversation though.
Commissioner Jockman, so I'll go back to a question of staff. There has been discussion now pertaining to the first finding on major deviations, and it sounds as though we've got some comments from public. We did not have the NAB. Staff obviously made this finding, and before I ask you the question, the way I particularly view that finding is that it is tied to the fourth finding, which, how are we going to impact nearby properties if the fire department is providing support for the deviation? That is the fourth finding, such that it is not materially detrimental to public health. Therefore, they're saying effectively that this will not impact nearby property in that manner. How does staff view that first finding, granting the major deviation will not significantly impact nearby property?
So, thank you, Commissioner Jockman. So, as you can see on the screen, my response in thinking about that finding was with regard to the land use itself. It's still a single-family home. So it was not a deviation or was not a change that would all of a sudden allow something that didn't exist before and that was perhaps more intensive from a land use perspective. That's, I'll admit, a different take than necessarily being able to see into a neighbor's yard in terms of the impact, right? But I was looking at the kind of the privacy issue more under finding number 4, and that's why it says several neighbors in support with regard to the privacy issue. So that's how I was kind of parceling those two considerations, was the one for kind of the intensity of the land use under finding 1, and then the privacy issue under finding 4. Could I have done that differently? Perhaps. So, but
Thank you.
anyway, yeah.
Thank you, Mr. Foster. Commissioner Becerra, you have your hand raised.
Oh, yes, I was just going to, I guess, follow your lead and I'll share in a little bit of where we stand or our thoughts. And so I guess I'll just say we can all benefit from breaking bread together a bit more. So I would agree with Commissioner Rohrmeyer's recommendation of continuing this matter and seeing if the applicant and their neighbors can try to find some middle ground and report back.
So that's you're suggesting towards a continuance there. Is that correct, Commissioner Becerra?
Yes, instead of a straight denial or straight whatever.
Commissioner Velto.
I don't think we can force this to go to the NAB. Can we make a recommendation as part of that to try to get input? Do you think that's worthwhile? I don't want to overstep any bounds. I don't know what we're allowed to do in that regard.
If you did vote to continue this matter, I would ask that you get concurrence from the applicant, and then that would give the ability to go to the NAB.
For me, Commissioner Williams, I can't support this project, so I do like Commissioner Rohrmeyer's suggestion and would lean towards that if the applicant is willing.
Commissioner Rohrmeyer, you had your hand raised.
Yes, I don't necessarily, I mean, I think going to that is a nice to do, but this seems like a very immediate neighbor issue. And so I wouldn't necessarily make a condition or even a strong ask of the extension. If the applicant is willing to do the extension, that they go to the NAB, that is a nice to. But this needs immediate adjacency remedies, in my opinion.
Okay, so we have, I will present this then to the applicant. It is clear that there is not a majority vote for a motion. So should a motion be made, it will likely fail. Would you like to request a continuance? We will not make a motion for a continuance without hearing from you first.
I'm not sure what is the best, or I can take it down my balcony, so there is no problem with that. The only thing I spend probably $4,000 on my design engineer. I pay him $4,000. I pay $3,100 for your this deviation fee, so $7,000 plus there is a permit fee, and there is a review fee I pay. So about, let's say, 10 grand, I'm going to lose it. So that's basically.
Can I offer a clarification that?
Sure.
Just procedurally, right? There's an approval, there's a denial, and then there's the potential for a continuance. If you want a vote tonight, a denial can still be appealed to the city council. So if you don't want to continue, so no one is saying that you have to take down the balcony immediately. The continuance would allow you an opportunity to meet with your neighbors, as I understand the consideration.
Yes.
So those are the three options. You can have a vote that would either lead to a denial or an approval. A denial can be appealed to the city council. So it doesn't mean it's the end of the line if it's a denial. Okay.
And if I could just make one further clarification, that any decision made by the planning commission could be appealed to the city council. So if this project was approved, that approval could be appealed by one of your neighbors, for example, to the city council if they so choose.
For your permission, can I show you something? Is there a way? Is that okay?
Yeah. Please state your question.
Can you show me the slide, please? Sorry, this one. A few seconds, probably. I think my neighbor, Gary, is complaining. So he has a covered patio. So patio has a post I believe the same as my alignments. I'm not sure he has the deviation or not, so it should be less than 20 feet also. So, let's see. Yeah, look at here. So that's my neighbor, right hand, Gary was complaining, so he's post. So he has the covered video, so I believe that's the same rule apply. His post from the property line is not 20 feet, it's the same aligned to my post, so it should be the same thing.
Wait, can I ask a question?
Yeah, sure. We have 3 hands raised here. Commissioner Velto.
Okay.
Is that the neighbor?
Yes, he's
with the
complaining.
letter?
Yes, sir.
Don't throw
Commissioner
rocks in a glass house.
Commissioner Rohrmeyer.
Oh, yeah, this is getting perhaps too in the weeds for this level of commission. I would say that just for your own benefit, as the applicant, I think you're very likely to come out of a continuance and trying to work through, at least showing the attempt of trying to work through your neighbors, an outcome that you'd be pleased with. I can't speak for everyone, but trying to take the time and going and speaking to them and maybe looking at a couple of mitigations, like I said, some added landscaping or screening in some way, I think would bode very well for you. So I know you got up and initially and said, oh, I've invested $7,000. That to me is quite a substantial investment, and I don't want to see you lose that. That is my personal opinion. I can't speak for others. But I'd strongly encourage you to try to work things out and then come back to us.
Definitely. Thank you, Commissioner. Yeah, I'll try my best. What is work for the best?
Commissioner
How I can resolve
Becerra.
this situation. So that's definitely.
Sure, Commissioner Becerra, for the record. I'll just echo Commissioner Rohrmeyer's sentiments there, sir. Like, it's obvious you mean well, and it's just, kind of slip through the cracks, and as a bigger picture, bigger vision, as a city, we'll get things a little bit ironed out better, as some of the residents pointed out, and we agree with them. And so I hope that you're able to find a solution with the neighbors here. And my personal take too is that I hope that a continuance is embraced, and you can find that solution with your immediate neighbors.
This is Commissioner Jockman. I would like to ask one question of legal here. So we have a major deviation. We only have 6. What would be needed to pass a motion? It would be 4 votes, correct? For this simple majority?
That's correct.
Thank you. Do we have any other comments from the commission? Hearing none, I'll just add myself here, Commissioner Jockman. I think that the findings as presented here, they're adequate for me. It sounds like I'm deviating from a lot of the folks on this commission on this, but I can see some precedent in the nearby area. I hear some of the comments about noise and complaints, but a patio doesn't make noise. Noise is made by events, and that's not the same as granting a setback deviation. So when I look at a setback deviation, my focus is primarily on that 4th finding, which is whether or not it's detrimental to public health. And that comes from the fire department for how I interpret that. So that's where I'm sitting. Just wanted to share that. Commissioner Becerra.
Sure. I guess I heard from the gentleman, the applicant, that he was open to a continuance. Is that correct, sir?
Yes.
Okay.
Please step forward.
If that is.
So, yes, Commissioner, yes.
Yeah, okay, great. So if that is the case, and Jasmine, I'm looking to you as our legal counsel here. Is it okay if I make a motion in accordance to that to continue the matter?
Yes, you can make a motion to continue the matter. Just, I would recommend that it be done to a date certain.
Okay, sure. Jeff or
Sure.
Sir or Jasmine, do you have any date certain parameters that you'd like to entertain, or the rest of the body? So we're not looking at this a year from now, but sometime soon.
Yeah, so just a second, please. So
Sure.
If you would like, we can continue it to a date certain, to a specific planning commission hearing. So that way there's a specified time and we don't have to go through the process of renoticing.
I see.
So it would be preferable, it's generally preferable to select a specific date for the next opportunity to bring this back to the commission. So we would want to do a time that gives you enough time to meet with the neighbors, to work with staff. So it wouldn't be 2 weeks from, when is the next one is?
If I
April.
could make a suggestion, because this is a code compliance issue, we don't want to drag it out forever, so to speak. I think the April 15th planning commission meeting, so essentially a month, would be appropriate.
Yes, sir. Yes, sir.
Commissioner Velto.
It'd be very helpful for me if at the next meeting you could have a photo of 5146 that shows how far that patio awning, whatever it is, extends out from its property compared to yours.
Yes, sir.
I'm just curious about that, but thank you.
Sure, sure, I'll definitely do. But currently, yes, my post and his post are the same align actually. If you look at the other picture, actually, so it had almost, but I'll definitely do that.
Thank you.
Definitely.
Okay,
So
great.
Commissioner Becerra, please proceed.
Sure. Just before I say it, though, just to be clear, we're aiming for April 15th as the date certain return period.
That's correct.
Okay, great. So in the matter, Commissioner Becerra, for the record, in the matter of LDC 26-00049, Aspen View Drive rear setback deviation, I move to continue this matter until April 15th, 2026.
Commissioner Valto, second.
We have a motion and a second. Any discussion on this item? Hearing none, all those in favor say aye.
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 Any opposed? Motion carries unanimously. That concludes this item for this meeting. We have one more hearing. Let's take a 5-minute break and reconvene. The time is 8:26. We will reconvene at 8:31. Please return by then.
We've got a few minutes.
Thank you, I appreciate that. Thank you.
Thank you.
Do we have Mr. Foster to start our next item?
I'll go grab him.
Okay. Yeah. Mr. Foster, are you ready to proceed if we do? Okay.
This one's even smaller. Good luck.
What's that?
This one's even smaller. Good luck.
We will restart the Planning Commission meeting where we left off. We are now entering item C5, staff report for possible action, case number LDC 26-00050. This is the Manzanita home side setback deviation. Mr. Foster.
All right, Jeff Foster, Associate Planner for the record. We've already heard the case number in the name. Okay, project site is about 0.27 acres. It's located on the north side of Manzanita Lane, about 295 feet east of Lakeside Drive, near Manzanita Park. It's currently developed with a single-family home, and the request is a major deviation to reduce the required side yard setback from 5 feet to 2.5 feet. Zooming in, again, single-family residences on all sides, and again, the key issue is compatibility. The master plan land use is single-family neighborhood, and I did want to point out and highlighted one of the master plan policies that I found to be of particular importance for this one is 7.7B, tree installation, retention, and replacement, and you'll see why here in a minute. The zoning district is single-family, 5 units per acre. So some background, this is a single-family home that was built in 1966. The project proposes a new 252 square foot bedroom addition on the north side in the rear yard, and that's shown in the turquoise circle, oval. And then a 260 square foot bedroom playroom addition on the west side in the side yard, and that's shown in the orangish oval. Splitting the total addition area between the rear and side yards is more effective from the standpoint of building and home efficiency in this particular case. And this configuration minimizes impacts to the site, including preserving 2 mature shade trees in the rear yard and preserves usable rear yard open space. The western addition would result in approximately 60 square feet within the 5-foot side yard setback, and that's in the green highlighted area on the left side. And staff is recommending condition number 5 to address a public utility easement that corresponds to the same 2.5-foot offset that is being proposed under the major deviation. Regarding compatibility with surrounding uses, the surrounding parcels are developed with similar single-family homes. The side yard addition, which is side and rear yard areas function as private open space and are generally appropriate locations for residential additions. The side yard addition, which is set back approximately 50 feet from the street, and that's in this area, as you can see on the in the oval, would be partially screened by a large deciduous tree that is close to the south side of the addition, as well as a front yard evergreen tree that is close to the street, as you can see in the photo. The proposal does not compromise the health, safety, or welfare of the adjacent property owners, and in fact, the neighbor to the west, as you can see in the left side of the picture here, has provided a letter of support, and staff is recommending condition number 5 for the allowable days and hours of construction, because this addition has not been built, so to minimize the impacts during construction on the neighboring residential uses. The major deviation recommended findings are on the screen. Staff believes that all of the findings can be made. Here's the recommended motion, and the applicant is here and will also be making a presentation.
Please state your name for the record.
Hello, my name is Gabriel Olson. I appreciate being here, and thank you all for all your time and all the great work that you do for our community. I was at the NAB last night. I was supposed to be at our NAB a month ago, but the snowstorm moved it back. And so me and my family attended the NAB last night. I did not bring my family to this meeting, thankfully, because they would have been quite a distraction over the last 2.5 hours. This is our home. It was our first home. We purchased it at the end of 2019 and moved in right before COVID in 2020. The cool thing about it, my wife grew up 2 homes down. So she grew up on 935 Manzanita. And so when this came on the market, it was a wonderful opportunity for her and her family, for us to be able to raise our family so close. The family had since had to sell that home due to financial issues. So it was kind of a cool kind of rebirth into the community. This is our backyard. These are the 2 trees that Jeff Mr. Foster was describing. It's really nice for our beagle to enjoy that open space. And that's the deck that you see a little bit. It's just kind of blurred by the yellow that came up at the NAB last night, of kind of how that. So when we were looking at an addition, it was challenging because we could come off that north east section more, but it would kind of cut that open space there in half. Where it would really create a wing of the house, as well as with these 2 small kiddos, it would be challenging on who would go in the wing of the house away from everybody else. So where you see now is that northwest, that kind of structure, which is exactly where we would have to do the addition. In that photo on the right behind my wife is where we are doing that smaller addition, but it stops well before that photo to allow that open space back there, while still being able to create the 4 and 4 from a bedroom, bathroom assembly that we're looking to achieve. We actually didn't even, we were kind of really talking about this, had kind of moved on, thought that we might have to look for another home in the community and sell this home. And then we were contemplating this, and we realized that this side space here that's behind those 2 fences that's pictured here is completely unused space, except for me putting pine cones there to hide them from my beagle. And so discussed with our builder what we could do. The idea is this chimney, we chose not to fix it when we bought the home. There's issues with it and cracks in it. So we actually don't use that chimney at all. And so the idea was to remove the chimney and then create enough space where we can create a hallway through the home and then have those 2 rooms there, effectively using our space better, but needing to get a major deviation. Now, I recognize tonight that people feel very strongly about major deviations. I do want to point out a couple of things. One, it's not like major deviations are free. Not to say, I think it's a great process. I've really enjoyed my time with Mr. Foster. It's made us think critically about what we're doing, and I'll get into that in a second. But it is more than $3,000 to apply for a major deviation, and if you're denied, you don't get that money back. Again, that's not in a threatening way at all. It's just saying I think there's been a little bit of perception tonight that people can just kind of come in here and get major deviations like they're lollipops. There's a lot of work involved to it. Additionally, we did, to Beth's point, and Beth, good to see you again. We saw each other at the NAB last night. We did a license survey. So this here that's noted is from our license survey that we did, where we actually found that, to Beth's point, our survey is about like 6 inches, 6 inches beyond the fence towards that carport on the other side. Now, I also want to note that my neighbor's permission was contextual in an email. I didn't sign him something where he had to mark yes or no. We've had a great relationship, even though you guys might not have had a similar meeting about that carport. Now, I'm not here to say just because he did it, I should get it. I definitely don't want to create a adversarial relationship in my neighborhood, and I want to respect all my neighbors' input. And I feel terrible for Beth's experience that she had. She clearly did not approve of what her neighbor had done, and that ending in a fire like that is tragic, and I feel terrible for her. Definitely got the neighbor's approval on this, was surveyed, and from a safety aspect, fire signed off of it. The other thing from a safety perspective, Manzanita Lane, people drive really fast down that road, unfortunately. And so if we cut off that backyard, the kids would, I really hate to have my kids in the front yard as much from a safety perspective. I think to Grace's point earlier, it is a very individualized review. There's a utility tract that we became aware of that is 5 feet right on that property line. That's 2.5 feet. So we changed the design of our home to a gable roof on that side where there wouldn't be an eave to comply with that utility easement, which we actually are super excited about in terms of the design of the home. But I think it is that point where this is a very individualized review and a lot of time and effort from the city planners as well as ourselves. And then I think the last thing that I would say is it's come up in Commissioner Williams, you had a great point of, we're really testing it tonight. I feel like I'm testing it, especially after the prior item. And when would we say no? I think my challenge would be, I get it's a hot button, but if we have been handing these out left and right as described, if we just at some point stop them completely, I would almost argue that I would be subject to a special privilege where all these other people had the privilege of a fair consideration, and we're not being considered because of other deviations in the community that might not have been as contextual or applicable to their community. Cool. Here for questions.
Thank you. We'll now go to disclosures and then to questions from the commission.
Commissioner Velto, familiar with the area?
Commissioner Gonfiantini, read and reviewed materials, familiar with the area.
Commissioner Jockman, same.
Commissioner Williams, same.
Commissioner Becerra, same.
Commissioner Rohrmeyer, same.
And public comment, Mr. Clerk.
Thank you, Mr. Chair. We do have one person registered for in-person public comment, Donna Keats. Donna, please approach the podium, state your name for the record. You'll have 3 minutes. While Donna approaches, if there's anyone on Zoom who'd like to give comment on this item, please raise your hand.
Again, it's Donna Keats. Boy, that was a long time because I missed the general public comment to sit through all of this. I wanted to, I'm on the Ward 2 NAB. This was presented last night. I didn't get my NAB review form written and sent until like 4:45. So I didn't know if you got it or not, so I wanted to come here and give you the NAB impressions, which were positive. So the things, hope we didn't scare you too much on this last bit. The point is, he already built his and you haven't. And so he's made, we grilled him. They've done a lot of work. I mean, there are a lot of houses in that area do have that L-shaped extension, like he said he didn't want to do when they expanded their houses, and they are this L shape because that was the 70s thing, and that's just what they're like. But I think that in view of what he's trying to accomplish and where he is on moving into the setback, given that his neighbors kind of butted right up there. Personally, I'd be sort of worried about fire because now they're both encroaching and you really can't get in there at all. But, fire department didn't make a comment, so. Anyway, it was a positive, I thought, from the NAB last night. He got a lot of questions. He explained everything about, and they've done a lot of work. They've been working pretty proactively with Jeff to make sure that they have the easements and they've taken care of all that stuff. And so, in case you didn't get my NAB comments, I came here to convey that to you. So, I just signed up for everything as long as I was here. So, anyway, thank you very much. That's all I have to say. Thank you, Dawn.
Thank you, Mr. Chair. I don't have anyone else registered to give in-person or online public comment.
Do we have any requests to speak in chambers at this time? Seeing none, we will close public comment, and now we will move to questions from the commission.
Commissioner Williams, I don't have a question, but I just want to say, Donna, thank you for coming here. That dedication to provide your ward report is pretty impressive, and it really is helpful. So I just want to say thank you for that dedication, and I think that's the first in my time, so it's much appreciated.
Commissioner Becerra.
Great. Thank you. Just a couple of quick questions, I believe. Maybe this is for the applicant, Mr. Olson, or staff.
Was any direct outreach conducted to the immediate adjacent western neighbor whose property line is probably affected by that reduced setback beyond the standard courtesy notice? And was the support letter from that specific western neighbor or a different neighbor?
Yes, so I spoke with the western neighbor and emailed him the plans, and then the approval of that is actually contextual in that email chain. So you can see the initial, just kind of the whole conversation. I didn't want to allude to any situation kind of like the past item where it was we got approval, but how sincere was that approval? You can see the whole email chain, and that was forwarded to Mr. Foster. And should be in the report.
Great. Okay, great. Thanks, Mr. Olson. And I'll say that you getting a nod of approval from Ms. Donna Keats is no easy feat. The bar is pretty high, so kudos there. No, it's a good thing. And again, question for Jeff, and maybe for you, Mr. Olson. Condition 2 gives you, as the applicant, 18 months to pull a building permit. But given that it's a pretty small residential addition, have you guys considered just a shorter time frame to ensure the deviation doesn't sit as an unused entitlement?
So Commissioner Becerra, are you asking if the building permit has already been submitted?
No, I'm asking if I think the condition is giving Mr. Olson and his family 18 months, right, to essentially do a building permit. But since it seems it's not a make it or break it for me by any stretch, I'm just kind of curious, is that too much time, or does it make sense to kind of bring it down a little bit, or is that just a standard?
So for everyone, that's condition number 2 is that the building permit shall be applied for within 18 months. That's the standard for a major deviation. And in fact, you've already applied, correct?
We're waiting on structural engineering to put the building permit in, and that's we're. The building permit, this is Gabriel Wilson for the record again, the building permit is imminent. We're planning to hopefully submit that later this week, given that we had this meeting this evening, and that being denied the major deviation would significantly change the permit itself. We decided to just hold off. But Mr. Foster was very great about letting us know we could do that. We could submit the permit and go through this project concurrently.
Okay, great. And then just one last one, I guess. At a 2.5 foot setback, you'll have some future maintenance upon you, especially on that west wall, like painting, repairs, gutter work, and all that. And it'll require access, though, from a pretty narrow strip. Have you considered how you'll maintain that wall over time without relying on the neighbor's property for access? Yeah. And I mentioned that because it's been an issue with others in the region.
Yeah, I think it's a great point. I think that our neighbor and us have to work together just with the structure of that carport. It is relatively tight quarters over there to start with. And so I think with the survey and us really being able to work together on that area that we will address those challenges together as neighbors. Hopefully with it being a brand new structure, at least the siding and the painting and things like that, that would be well down the road would be my hope if we hired the right builder.
Well, Mr. Olson, that's kind of music to my ears because in a way we talked about, neighbors breaking bread in an earlier case tonight, and it gives me hope. It instills confidence that we can solve problems at that hyper-local level, as Commissioner Rohrmeyer also mentioned. So thank you.
Thank you. Absolutely.
Any other questions from the commission? Seeing none, we will move to deliberations or entertain a motion should one be made.
Commissioner Velto, ready to make a motion?
Please proceed.
In the matter of case number LDC 26-00050, based upon compliance with the applicable findings, I move to approve the major deviation subject to the conditions listed in the staff report.
Commissioner Gonfiantini,
Commissioner Becerra, second.
A first from Velto, second from Gonfiantini. All in favor say aye.
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 Hi.
Any opposed? Hearing none, motion carries unanimously. That concludes item C5. We will now move on to business items. D1, recommendation to City Council for one appointment to the Truckee Meadows Regional Planning Commission. Do we have any nominations to make?
Mr. Chair, before we move into nominations, we do have a public comment on this item.
Yes, public comment.
Donna Keats.
Please proceed.
Like I said, I had to sit here all night, so I signed up for everything. So, anyway, I would like to speak in support of Manny as the appointee for this position. He served relentlessly for almost 2 years as an unofficial, alternate when Alex didn't show. And I think he did a great job. I've seen him perform a lot. He's well considered on all these things. He's very well versed. I think regional planning deserves the most experienced people on this board that we can have, because it's a complicated job. No slight on you. But, it's a complicated job, and it requires a bigger picture history, and the longer that people have been on Planning Commission, they're more suited to go to regional. So for me personally, and I probably speak for, I'm guessing 25, 30 other people I've conversed with this about, feel really strongly that the longest tenured planning commissioners should be the ones to pass forward to regional, because they have the most useful experience. And in Manny's case, he has actually participated in regional in so many meetings and done such a great job, and he's always really well prepared. He doesn't seem to have a personal agenda that gets in his way. He's pretty balanced about his evaluation. He's always well-informed about the topics before they come to the meeting. He doesn't wait to hear the staff reports. He's got all the information in hand. And I think he would make a fine appointee, and so I'm wishing that you would appoint him. Thank you very much.
Mr. Chair, we also have Beth Story online. Beth, you should be able to unmute. Please state your name for the record. You'll have 3 minutes.
Beth, if you are, yes, we can hear you.
Perfect. I have to echo what Donna said about Manny. I'm a tough customer, and he is one of the kindest, most informed, most approachable planning commissioners I've ever dealt with. And so I enthusiastically approve for Manny, and I agree with Donna, everything Donna said. Thank you.
Thank you, Beth. Mr. Chair, I don't have anyone else registered to give public comment on this item.
Commissioner Valto, you had mentioned.
Yeah, I'd like to nominate Commissioner Williams for the Regional Planning Commission appointment.
Commissioner Gampiantini, a second.
We have a motion and a second. Mr. Clerk, would you like to conduct a roll call vote for this, please?
Can do. Chair Jockman,
Aye.
Williams,
Aye.
Becerra,
Is there going to be discussion after this by chance? Or did we skip further discussion after public comment?
You're welcome to discuss, explain your vote. Yes.
Oh, sure. I guess I will just echo some remarks that I was unexpectedly surprised to hear, and I appreciate from the broader community. So thank you. And I guess I'll just kind of say that I have served on this commission for nearly 3 years, and for a significant portion of that time, also served as a alternate on the Regional Planning Commission with that consistent, reliable participation that was mentioned earlier. And my approach has been steady and independent and grounded in the adopted plan, subjective findings, and full context, with a focus on collaboration across jurisdictions and stakeholders. I submitted a full nomination letter, which is already part of the Planning Commission record from February 4th, and I would respectfully ask that it be included in the materials transmitted to City Council for their consideration this time, as it was omitted previously. And this will ensure that the full record allows the items to support a transparent, informed appointment process. And in that same spirit of transparency, I do want to flag an issue that I believe warrants clarification before this body takes action one way or the other. There's been some discussion suggesting this role may be a paid position. That has not been my understanding, nor has it ever been formally communicated to this body or to me. And in 3 years of serving as a consistent alternate, I have never been paid or received compensation. So I think it would be prudent for staff to clarify this point for both the commission and the public, and more broadly, to provide a brief overview of the roles and responsibilities and expectations so that everyone is fully informed before a recommendation is made. Thank you.
Legal, are we allowed to break from the motion since we're in the middle of a roll call?
No.
So
you-
I'll carry
you-
on with the roll call vote, Mr. Chair.
So why did we call for a roll call without discussion?
Correct.
I'll defer to legal on this one. Should we go back to discussion after the second? We're in the middle of a roll call vote.
There's motion for reconsideration.
You could either, I guess, withdraw the motion and deliberate and then call for the roll call, or you can continue with the roll call vote, whichever you prefer.
I challenge this. We never had a discussion, therefore we cannot go back to a discussion. It was inappropriate to go right to a roll call vote.
I think a discussion would be very helpful.
So in order to go back to discussion, what do I need to state on the record? I'm looking at the city attorney here.
Just make a motion to move into discussion and then do the roll call vote. That's all you
Okay.
need to do.
We will halt the roll call vote, Mr. Clerk, and I cannot make the motion, so we need a motion for discussion.
Commissioner Velto moved for discussion.
Commissioner Gonfantini, second.
We have a motion and a second for discussion. All in favor say aye.
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 Any opposed? Hearing none, motion carries unanimously. Discussion. Commissioner
So
Velto.
Commissioner Becerra. Oh, well, I actually,
Sure.
if you don't
Go
mind,
ahead.
I do
Go ahead
want to, I just want to, respectfully insist though that I did have a question within my statement there that I think warrants to be addressed by the appropriate staff or person in chambers about compensation, roles and responsibilities, because again, in my 3 years, it's never been highlighted directly or in presentation. And I've never received compensation as an alternate.
Speaking from my experience, well, there is compensation. I believe it's $80 a meeting. I believe when I was an alternate during my first few years on the commission, I did receive compensation. And I would expect that alternates do receive compensation. That's my impression.
Okay. I have never, just so the record states, like, and again, it's just, there's this uncertainty or innuendo at times. And so if you've received it and I have not received it, I'm not sure why. And that's not really the issue as much as maybe the impression that sometimes is given as to why we're moving forward with this or not. But
So there's disagreement. I'm struggling to understand the relevance of this to the recommendation that's before us on the agenda. Yeah.
I can speak to that.
May I weigh in?
Commissioner Rohrmeyer.
Yes, the challenge, the issue was brought to my attention, a pecuniary interest, and that there would be payment for regional planning commission service. And to my knowledge, yes, we receive $80 for the public who's interested per meeting that we attend at the city of Reno. In my years of service at TMRPA as a planning commissioner, I have not ever received payment. Now, my fellow commissioner, whose vote is before us, has gone out of his way to make accusations. Now, I wish to, before I vote, understand if there is a pecuniary interest in people I might support for the position.
Just to clarify for the record, this is Mike Rayleigh. Commissioners are paid by the city of Reno. There is no additional compensation for being a regional planning commissioner.
Can I weigh in on that? You do get paid $80 a meeting for every meeting you attend. If you attend 2 planning commission meetings a month, you receive $160. If you attend 2 planning commission meetings a month and a regional meeting, you receive $240. that money is paid for by the city of Reno. I can confirm this because the first time I met with Jeremy, after becoming appointed to the Regional Planning Commission, we met in his office. He told me, every meeting you come to, you get $80. It's paid for by the city of Reno. So the payment is not made by Regional. It is made by the city of Reno, but it is made for every meeting you attend, including Regional. So the question of whether there's a pecuniary interest, there is a added benefit of getting to attend more meetings as a result of being on the Regional Commission, which results in additional payments to planning commissioners.
Okay, I think we're getting off of the agenda item that's before us. Do we have any other discussion pertaining to the agenda item that is before us?
Yes, and that being that there was nomination. Commissioner Becerra self-nominated himself. That isn't being considered in light of consideration of Commissioner Williams. Now, Commissioner Williams has, and it's record, put forth letters and documentation that are disparaging and accusational. There is no way that should be supported at the complex decision-making of a regional planning commissioner. He does not have the experience nor the ability that he's shown to have the capability to make these kinds of decisions. So that leaves one other person at this time to be considered. Now, if there's a pecuniary interest and that precludes me and that I have to abstain from voting, then I need to know that. And that is why this issue came up.
Commissioner Velta, would you like to make a motion?
I
Further
would like to make
discussion.
a discussion, sort of,
Okay.
I guess it'd be a comment. I think Commissioner Williams has done an excellent job on this commission. I think he has been fair and impartial when he is voting on projects. I think this commission has been concerned at some of the issues we've seen with fellow commissioners and that disclosures were not made when we think they are appropriate. There's been an allegation of disparagement. I think these words matter, and we're talking about disparagement. There need to be things that are, in my view, false or misleading, and I don't think anything Commissioner Williams has said, in my opinion, is false or misleading. With that said, if there's a motion and a second for Commissioner Becerra, the board can entertain a motion. I have only heard a motion. I have not heard a second. So if anyone would like to make a second, perhaps we can take a vote. But I've only heard a motion.
This is Commissioner Becerra for the record. I'd also like to say, because Commissioner Velta, you mentioned that you made a semi-subjective remark there about disclosures. I'll just say for the record that our own legal has said that there was no additional disclosures needed and everything was A-OK, and I'm paraphrasing. So while you may disagree with the approach on disclosures, our own legal counsel is fine with it.
Chair, may I respond?
okay,
Chair?
This is Jasmine
Please.
Mehta for the record. We're getting a little far from the agenda item and delving into.
Thank you. So the purpose of the City of Reno Planning Commission is to advise the city council on long-term physical development of the city. This is available right on the website. I think we should stick to the agenda item that's before us. This has been brought to us by staff. City council can debate this in further length. They are the ones with the ultimate authority on this agenda item. We're just making a recommendation like we did previously with C3. So let's state our comments on the record, because similar to that item, it's more important than our actual vote as it comes to the authority for this item on our agenda.
And
Yes, thank you. And I think that's why we were making these remarks, because it helps and it seems like the Commissioner Becerra for the record, it seems like the last few regional appointment recommendations, there's been this eagerness to make a motion and recommendation without discussion. And I don't think that's by mere chance. And so it's important to have these conversations. And that's why I appreciated making additional remarks. And I, again, appreciate the additional remarks from the broader community in support, which was to my surprise. And thank you. And I'm proud to serve all of you.
Chair, may I make a minor comment, very brief, and then I assure you I will defer to your judgment. I would only note that specific Nevada Commission on Ethics opinions that I think should be considered is the 1999 Nevada Commission on Ethics opinion number 98-70 and the Nevada Commission on Ethics opinion number 0019 from the year 2000. I don't know if those have been considered when evaluating the potential for a conflict. Those are two ethics opinions that deal with the non-disclosure, or one that deals with the non-disclosure of a fiancé relationship, and the other dealing with abstention related to a fiancé relationship when there is a fiancé who is on a public board. Those are two opinions that I think are very poignant and relevant, and I'm not quite sure if those two have been viewed or assessed by legal.
No one is voting on a fiancé relation. Nobody here is not seconded or endorsing a fiancé relationship. Therefore, that case has not been applied to this position.
So I think we have comments from the commission that are not going to come to agreement. So I think we should make a motion and proceed with that.
Commissioner Becerra, I move to continue this matter to a time certain period of 30 days, and perhaps give staff and council time to make a recommendation on how best to proceed with this. Or they can decide as they ultimately will, and take into consideration all of the remarks that have been made this evening, both at the dais and within the public.
So we have a motion. Do we have a second?
I move to postpone until April 15th. That's a second.
Understood. So we have a motion and a second. Mr. Clerk, roll call vote.
Commissioner Becerra is the mover. You are an aye. Jacquemin?
Nay.
Gonfiantini?
No.
Commissioner Rohrmeyer is the seconder. You are an aye. Velto?
No.
Williams?
No.
Mr. Chair, the motion fails.
Do we have any other motions to entertain from the commission?
Commissioner Velto, I move to nominate Commissioner Williams.
Commissioner Gonfiantini, I second.
We have a motion and a second. We have already had extensive discussion on this. Legal, do I need to open this back up for discussion? We have a motion and a second. Mr. Clerk, please conduct a roll call vote on this matter.
I'm sorry, Mr. Chair, can you please repeat the mover and the seconder?
We have a motion from Commissioner Velto. We have a second from Commissioner Gonfiantini. This is a recommendation for Commissioner Williams. Please conduct a roll call vote.
Jacquemin?
Aye.
Williams?
Aye.
Becerra?
No.
Gonfiantini?
Aye.
Rohrmeyer?
It is an absolute no, and I recognize that the people at the dais will absolutely approve them regardless of public comment.
Velto?
Yes.
Mr. Chair, the motion passes.
That concludes item D1. We now move on to item E, Truckee Meadows Regional Planning Liaison Report. We have not had a Regional Planning Commission meeting since the last one. We did have a subcommittee meeting. At that meeting, we heard an update regarding planning efforts from the Reno Sparks Indian Colony, presented by Candace Stowell. That's the RSIC Planning Director. We also reviewed Regional Planning Governing Board comments that were directed towards the subcommittee, and that was from their February 12th meeting. That concludes the update from the from the Regional Planning Commission staff. Item F, future agenda items. Anything to report for future agenda items?
Nothing this evening.
Mr. Clerk, item G, public comment.
Thank you, Mr. Chair. We do have public comment registered for our closing public comment period. I'm going to start with Sue Morrison. Sue, please approach the podium, state your name for the record. You'll have 3 minutes. While Sue is approaching, if there's anyone who'd like to give public comment online, please use the raise hand feature. Sue, whenever you're ready.
She's back. See, I'm more confident now. First of all, I want to thank you guys for stuff like this. I know this one's probably not yours, but just allowing regular old citizens to be able to participate in this sort of thing. I am going back to 0003, our good friends that want to build that big project on Clear Acre in Scottsdale. My first concern, or an additional concern, is what they're calling a multi-use zoning. They're really not specific. They mentioned a park, which is great. However, this could also mean some commercial use. I don't know if they want to throw another gas station on the corner or what they're thinking. They're really not specific, and it bothers me. So I have concerns about that. And the other thing, they've mentioned Truckee Meadows Community College quite a bit. They haven't mentioned the high school zoning, which is HUG. And HUG is a brand new, big, beautiful school with no sidewalk anywhere. All of those kids are going to have to walk to and from school from Clear Acre all the way over to, I guess it's El Rancho, Sullivan, that area. There's no sidewalks for those kids. It's a big concern. It's a big concern for me. It's a big concern for one of my very good friends whose daughter is now being homeschooled. Their address is Scottsdale, up right behind this project. Because that child, 17-year-old girl, would have to walk to and from school, the mom has chosen to homeschool. And I think when you guys are looking at this planning thing, I would really like to see you look at the big picture, the broader picture than just traffic. And this, again, does go back to traffic. Because, you know, their 16-year-old friends are peeling out through those roundabouts, getting out of that high school, and other kids are just, you know, trying to walk and live their life. And the other thing is, until we change daylight savings time to permanent, the kids are also walking home in the dark from that school. And I just hope it's something that you'll consider. And $80 a day isn't enough for what you guys put up with. I hope y'all will break some bread together after this meeting. Thank you.
Thank you, and thank you for keeping your comments to our purpose here as the Planning Commission. I really appreciate that. Mr. Clerk.
Up next, we have Donna Keats. Donna, please approach the podium, state your name for the record. You'll be afforded 3 minutes.
Oh, okay, I made it to the end. I almost can't think of anything to say to you guys. I am so incredibly disappointed by your performance about this regional appointee. The last time you did this, a month ago, whenever it was, when Tina and Christina got appointed and Christina refused at council, whatever that date was, I was appalled by the way that went. Absolutely appalled. In this business of, let me make a motion before there's any moment. I mean, I've seen it happen at council too. It doesn't always happen here. I'll just make a motion so lickety-split fast that the person on the board who's trying to make a comment doesn't even get to make a comment. That's rude, it's wrong, it's a disservice to the public. It's a disservice to the whole idea of the Planning Commission. And I was so upset by your last performance on this regional planning. I'm going to say the B-U-L-L shit word, because that's what it was. It was embarrassing. It was an embarrassment to the city. And I was so upset by that, I almost went to a council meeting to tell them what I thought. But then, of course, I realized, oh, well, of course, you guys already know this, because you're, like, feeding it. And I am just really disappointed for what it's worth, maybe nothing. But you're turning off so many citizens who really want to be active, who really want to get behind their people who are representing them, really want to get to regional, really want to have cooperative planning, cooperative work with council, planning commissioners, and thank you for listening. But you don't. You're losing us. I mean, it's so hard for me to get myself to come to these meetings to even speak, because I'm so certain that whatever I have to say makes no difference anymore. And keeping in mind, I've been doing this for 25 years. And somebody with ethics complaints doesn't even get nailed yet. You don't want to get into this because of people dating. Why is it your business? Blow it off. Grow up. Do something else. Right? Just stop it. You're acting like children. Thank you very much. Felt like I needed to slam you because this was not quite as offensive as the last one, but the last one, oh my God, it's a good thing I wasn't here in person, because that was so horrifying to me and everybody who knew about it, how you handled that. So anyway, I don't know. There's nothing else I can say in 45 seconds. I do appreciate your service. I hope you don't get so upset with me that you won't listen to anything I might have to say that could be useful, although I realize you might. But I just needed to slam you because this was really disgusting. Thank you.
Mr. Chair, I don't have anyone else registered for closing public comment. We don't have anyone online who's indicated they'd like to speak.
Item H is for adjournment. Can I get a motion to adjourn?
Commissioner Gonfalonieri, motion to adjourn.
Second.
Motion and second. All in favor, say aye.
Aye.
Aye. Meeting adjourned.